Look, isn't that Yi Zhe from class 2? He just awakened a summoner class card. A summoner? That's a rare class. He could sell that for 8 or 9 million. Easy. Who has that kind of luck? Oh, it's Yi Zhe. He's always ranked first in the grade. I think I heard him talking once about building a great wall to keep out the abyss. I didn't get it then, but man, he's set for life now. I stood in the center of the hallway at Lin Yuan City War Academy, surrounded by hundreds of students from the ordinary classes. They were all on their tiptoes, trying to get a glimpse of me and the glowing card in my hand. Even the vice dean had rushed down to see me. He looked at me with a face full of fake concern. Student Yi Zhe, listen to me. Don't do anything impulsive. If you use this card, you can never change your class. Your future will be ruined. He knew I had top grades, but he also knew my family was poor. In this world, being a summoner meant spending a fortune. Every single summoned beast needed its own equipment and skills. The higher the level, the more it cost. It wasn't just about one pet. It was about an entire army. In this world of global class awakening, everyone got a class card at 18. You could use it to become a professional, or you could sell it. For kids like us in the ordinary classes, the rule was simple. If you pulled a rare card, you sold it. You used the money to buy a cheaper, high-floor class like a warrior or a shield bearer. That was the only way a poor kid could afford to grow strong. The vice dean really wanted me to sell. He probably wanted to give the card to a rich kid in the elite class. Student Yi Zhe, he said, pointing to a woman in a business suit. This is a representative from the Zhao family guild. They will offer you a fair price. The secretary smiled at me. Don't worry, Yi Zhe. The Zhao family will offer you 8 million for that summoner card. 8 million. The crowd gasped. For most people, that was more money than they'd see in several lifetimes. I looked at the card and then at the secretary. I felt like laughing. 8 million? I had done my research. Summoner cards were incredibly rare. There weren't many sales records, but they were worth at least 12 million. The vice dean was clearly taking a massive kickback from the Zhao family. If I were any other 18-year-old, I might have been blinded by the cash. But I wasn't just a student, I was a transmigrator. I had lived in this world for 18 years, watching the eternal abyss swallow our land and monsters crawl out of the shadows. In a world like this, strength was the only currency that mattered. 8 million was nothing compared to real power. Usually, selling would be the smart move for a commoner. But I had a secret. Along with this class card, I had awakened a god-tier talent, infinite gold suffix. Every time I leveled up, I could draw 1 golden suffix. I could attach these suffixes to anything, my attributes, my skills, or my summons. In this digitized world, quality was everything. White was common, green was good, blue was rare, purple was excellent, and orange was epic. Gold was legendary. People killed for legendary items. And I got one for free every single level. People said you needed money to play a summoner. Well, I had a cheat code. Why would I play a single warrior when I could build a legendary army where every soldier was a god? I'm becoming a summoner, I said firmly. I'm not selling. The vice dean's face fell. Don't be emotional, Yi Zhe. Think about your future. A summoner without money is the weakest class in the world. No guild will ever take you. The secretary's smile didn't fade. She had dealt with poor kids before. She thought I was just holding out for more money. She thought reality would eventually break me. She was wrong. I didn't say another word. I gripped the card, and before anyone could stop me, I crushed it. The card shattered into blue light, flowing into my body like a cold tide. You have changed classes to Rare Class, Summoner. Current level, 1. You may now draw 1 golden suffix. The hallway went dead silent. The vice dean looked like he'd seen a ghost. $8 million had just vanished into thin air. It was like watching someone win the lottery and then using the ticket to light a cigarette. I didn't care. I closed my eyes and looked at the prompt in my mind. It was time to draw. A powerful summoner was basically a one-man mercenary group. But that kind of power cost a fortune. Without money or resources, a summoner's pets were so weak they couldn't even clear a basic dungeon. Nobody expected me to actually go through with it. The vice dean's face turned bright red. He sputtered, pointing a finger at me, unable to find words. He looked like he was about to have a heart attack. The secretary from the Zhao Corporation didn't look happy either. Her eyes turned cold and disdainful. Stupid, she muttered. She had expected an easy acquisition, but instead, she'd run into a freak. She'd probably get chewed out by her bosses for failing. She turned on her heels, her high heels clicking sharply against the floor as she left without looking back. The crowd began to whisper and drift away. In this world, nobody wanted to waste time with a loser. Soon, the classroom was empty, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I wasn't bothered. I actually found it funny. People call me crazy, but they just can't see the truth. Explaining myself to them was a waste of time. I knew that only strength could truly shut them up. A man in a green shirt walked in. He had a refined, scholarly air about him. He looked at me for a long time. "Should I scold you for being impulsive?" he asked, "or praise you for turning down $8 million?" I finally cracked a smile. "It's all thanks to your teaching, Teacher Liu." "I never taught you to pick summoner," he grumbled. This was Liu Boyan. He was my teacher and an old comrade of my late father. He sat down across from me, his eyes full of melancholy. My father had served with him in the Huaxia Demon Suppression Army. After my parents died in battle, Liu Boyan had looked after me like I was his own son. He could have arranged a safe future for me, but I had chosen the one path he hated most. "I'm going to be the strongest summoner in the world," I told him. "Get out of here," Liu Boyan barked. "My retirement pension can't afford to raise a summoner. That class is a bottomless pit of resources. Only the military or giant corporations can handle the bill." Despite his grumbling, he reached into his coat and slid a skill book across the table. "This is all I can do for you. After this, you're on your own." I stared at the book. It glowed with a soft blue light. A rare grade skill book. Usually, a level 1 summoner starts with a pathetic white grade slime. To get anything better, you either have to fight and contract a wild beast or buy expensive skill books. For a retired veteran like Liu Boyan, this must have cost a fortune. I felt a lump in my throat. I had lost my parents at 7, but I had been lucky enough to find a mentor like him. "Teacher," I started. "Don't get emotional," he said, waving his hand. "How about I just marry your daughter and become your son-in-law?" I joked. Liu Boyan's eyes widened. He swung a kick at me. "You take my skill book and then you go after my daughter?" I scrambled toward the back door, laughing. "I'm a good-looking guy, you know." He chased me, his movements much faster than they looked. "Get lost. That book is alone. Go to the novice dungeon. If you don't pass the national exam in 10 days, I'm sending you to the demon army as a laborer to pay me back." I didn't stick around to get hit. I bolted out the door, shouting back one last time, "I'm going to be the strongest." Once I was clear of the building, I looked at the book. Skill book, Iron-Eating Beast Summons. Quality, Blue Rare. It was a power-type summon. This was huge. A first summon is everything. If I had stayed with a basic slime, even a golden suffix might not have been enough to make it viable. I had planned to spend all my savings just to buy a green-grade book, but Liu Boyan had given me his best. I took a deep breath. I couldn't let him down. "Learn skill," I whispered. A prompt appeared. Asterisk your current spirit attribute allows for 1 contract. Replace slime with Iron-Eating Beast, asterisk. I checked my stats. Level 1. Strength 5, Stamina 6, Agility 7, Spirit 10. My spirit only allowed for 1 pet right now, and my class rank capped me at 3 total. I clicked Replace. Asterisk skill learned. You have obtained a new summon, Iron-Eating Beast, rare, that asterisk. I felt a shift in my summoner space. A black and white creature with a round, fuzzy belly appeared. I felt a soul link form instantly. It was level 1, with 10 strength and 8 stamina. Even at rare quality, its stats were only about equal to a standard warrior. This was why poor summoners struggled. They couldn't even clear a normal dungeon without high-quality pets. But I had something the rich kids didn't. I focused on the golden suffix I had drawn earlier, Tai Chi Grandmaster. In this world, traditional martial arts didn't really exist because of magical classes. But I knew how powerful they could be, especially at the Grandmaster level. A panda doing Tai Chi? That sounded interesting. I dragged the suffix onto the Iron-Eating Beast. A blinding light erupted from my summoner space. 2 notifications flashed in my vision, and my jaw nearly hit the floor. Suffix successfully applied. Summon, Iron-Eating Beast, rare, has evolved into Kung Fu Panda, epic. I stood frozen. The suffix hadn't just buffed the pet, it had triggered an evolution. It skipped right over the purple grade and went straight to orange epic. This was insane. If a rare pet could jump to epic with one suffix, what would happen when I started applying legendary suffixes to legendary beasts? I didn't just have a cheat code. I had the keys to the kingdom. I looked at my summoner's space, my heart pounding. If a rare beast could jump to epic quality this easily, what would happen when I started using legendary suffixes? I shifted my gaze back to my new summon. The panda had changed. He was now wearing a loose, flowing Tai Chi robe. He radiated a calm, peaceful energy, like a warm spring breeze. But he still had that same goofy, adorable expression on his face. Apparently, becoming a Tai Chi Grandmaster didn't stop him from being a panda. I pulled up his stat panel. Summon, Kung Fu Panda. Quality, Epic. Level 1. Attributes, Strength 28, Stamina 25, Agility 28, Spirit 23. Talent, Iron-Eating Beast, Rare. Bloodline, Tai Chi Inner Power, Legendary. Skills, 24 Style Tai Chi, Legendary, Max Level. Deflect Force, Legendary, Max Level. I stared at the screen. I thought reaching epic quality was impressive enough, but his skills and bloodline were all legendary, and they were already maxed out. It made sense, though. He was a Tai Chi Grandmaster. How could he not be a master of his own craft? His attributes were more than double what they were before. This was the true power of an epic beast. Suddenly, a notification pinged in my ear. Ding! Your contracted summon has received a massive upgrade. A portion of its attributes will now be shared with you. Your attributes have increased. Strength plus 10, Stamina plus 10, Agility plus 10, Spirit plus 10. I felt a surge of heat rush through my veins. Normally, summons only share power with their masters when their quality improves, but that rarely happens. Most people find it easier to just buy a higher quality pet than to evolve one. This kind of attribute feedback was something most students only read about in textbooks. Now, I had the strength and stamina of a high-level warrior. I didn't even need to fight personally, but the feeling of power was incredible. My confidence for the newbie dungeon skyrocketed. The newbie dungeon was an artificial zone created for high school students. It was restricted to anyone under level 9. It was meant to be a safe place to level up, since dying inside only cost you a bit of experience. But it wasn't free. Every entry required at least 50 energy crystals, which cost about 10,000 yuan each. For rich kids, 50 grand was pocket change. For an orphan like me, I only had one shot, the free entry provided by the military. I arrived at the South Campus entrance, where the dungeon portal glowed. The place was packed with students shouting for teammates. Need 4 more for a run. We've got free entries. Looking for 2 for a hard mode run. Gear and skills required. Any big shots carrying? I'm level 2. I'll listen to orders. I walked through the crowd, and several heads turned. Whoa, a summoner, someone whispered. Then they saw my basic clothes. Wait, isn't that Yizhe? The guy who turned down 8 million yuan just to pick the summoner class. The whispers turned into snickers. No one moved to invite me. They assumed I was stuck with a weak starter slime. To them, grouping with a penniless summoner was a suicide mission. I didn't mind. The crowd actually parted to let me through, giving me a clear path to the portal. Thanks, I muttered, walking calmly toward the entrance. What a weirdo, I heard someone say. Is he going in alone? Stop embarrassing the summoner class, a loud, arrogant voice boomed. It's not a path for people like you. I turned to see a young man decked out in expensive, high-tier gear. Standing next to him was the female secretary from the Zhao Corporation. The crowd immediately buzzed with excitement. It was Zhao Xian, the star of the elite class. Now that's a real summoner, someone shouted. Boss, take us with you. I realized who he was instantly. Zhao Xian, the son of the Zhao Corporation's chairman. I hadn't sold my professional card to them, but they clearly bought others to ensure he got the summoner class. Zhao Xian let out a smug laugh and summoned his pet. A massive wolf with glowing purple fur appeared, snarling at the crowd. Holy crap, a wind-chasing wolf. That's an extraordinary grade beast. The Zhao family is insane. That thing costs 4 or 5 million yuan easily. Zhao Xian soaked in the praise, his eyes locking onto mine with pure malice. Before the class awakening, I had always been the top student in academics, leaving him in second place. He had spent years living in my shadow. Now, he finally had the money and the power to crush me. Go on, Yize, he sneered. Summon your little slime and show everyone what 8 million yuan was worth. I looked at him and smiled. This guy was a walking goldmine. If I didn't take him for everything he was worth, I'd regret it. You seem pretty confident, I said, keeping my hands in my pockets. Why don't we make this interesting? Let's have a bet. A bet? Zhao Xian laughed like I'd told a joke. The secretary leaned in and whispered to him. Young master, I heard his teacher bought him a rare tier skill book at the exchange. Zhao Xian's smirk widened. A rare skill? That's your confidence? You think that's enough to bet against me? If you're scared, just say so, I said flatly. Stop wasting my time. I knew his type. He was desperate to prove he was better than me. One little poke was all it took. His face turned beet red, his eyes bulging. Scared? Me? I'm worried you're too poor to pay up when you lose. The crowd went silent. A bet between the elite class and the regular class was rare, especially with someone as wealthy as Zhao Xian. I didn't hesitate. I pulled out my bank card. 1,824,750 yuan, I said, reciting my balance from memory. That's my stake. The crowd gasped. Where did a regular student get over 1 million yuan? I'd spent years working as a consultant for various guilds, coming up with marketing schemes and logistics plans. I'd saved every penny. Zhao Xian's eyes flickered. He hadn't expected me to actually have money. His gear was worth millions, but that was his father's money. His personal cash was a different story. Zhao Xian had maybe 500,000 or 600,000 in his pocket, plus another 2 million his family gave him for mana crystals. He hesitated for a split second, then remembered his advantage. He had a superior tier wind-chasing wolf and 2 superior tier attack skills. In his mind, I was just a lucky commoner with 1 rare tier summon. 2 million, Zhao Xian sneered, pulling out a gold-trimmed card. He didn't bother counting it out like I did. There's at least 2 million in here. How do you want to do this? My eyes lit up. 2 million? That was a beautiful number. Simple, I said. A speed run of the novice dungeon. Whoever clears it faster wins. Money was great, but I hadn't forgotten my real goal. I needed to level up and get stronger for the college entrance exams in 10 days. I needed every second to count. Zhao Xian let out a sharp, mocking laugh. You want me to grind a normal difficulty dungeon with you? I'm not wasting my time. My first run is going to be nightmare tier at the very least. The crowd buzzed with envy. Novice dungeons were ranked. Normal, elite, hard, nightmare, calamity, and hell. Most people were happy just to survive a normal run. Only rich kids like Zhao Xian, decked out in high-end gear, even dreamed of nightmare tier. I looked him dead in the eye. I'm talking about a solo run. Hell tier. Let's see who clears it faster. The silence that followed was deafening. Hell tier? Solo? People looked at the leaderboard displayed on the stone pillar. Under Hell difficulty, there were no records. Nobody had ever cleared it. Is he insane? Someone whispered. He wants to compare speed on a dungeon that's impossible to finish. Zhao Xian froze, then burst into a fit of laughter. I get it now. You're picking a difficulty neither of us can beat, so you don't have to lose your money. How pathetic. He didn't wait for me to respond. He signaled his secretary to bring over a notary robot, a specialized mechanical creation from the Academy's masters. The Academy didn't ban gambling between students as long as it was official. Since it's a Hell tier run, the robot's metallic voice droned. The winner will be determined by whoever survives the longest inside. Do both parties agree? Agreed. Zhao Xian shouted, a manic glint in his eyes. He wanted to lock this in before I could back out. To him, this was free money and a chance to humiliate me forever. The round, penguin-like robot beeped. Contract established. Solo Hell tier challenge. Stake, 3,824,000 yuan. Winner takes all. The crowd moved back, giving us space. I could hear them pitying me. They thought I'd made a tactical error by forgetting this survival time rule. I didn't care. I felt a surge of genuine joy. I'd spent 10 years living on a razor's edge, scraping together every cent by using my knowledge of the world while hiding my lack of power. Now, for the first time, my strength finally matched my ambition. I wasn't just gambling, I was investing. I walked toward the dungeon portals. I bypassed the first 5 and stopped at the last one. It was a swirling vortex of blood-red energy. The sheer pressure coming from it made the students nearby shiver and retreat. Ding! You have selected Hell difficulty. A system prompt rang in my head. The danger level is extreme. Are you sure you want to enter? Confirm, I muttered. Warning, party play is strongly recommended. You are currently solo. Would you like to find a team? No. Stop talking and let me in. The system gave me 2 more warnings, probably to prevent students from committing accidental suicide. But I wasn't some hot-headed kid. I knew exactly what I was doing. Plus, a Hell tier entry usually cost 300 mana crystals, about 3 million yuan. This was a free ticket. I wasn't going to waste it. I stepped into the red light without a second thought. He actually went in. Someone gasped. He didn't even hesitate. Look at Zhao Xian, though. He's shaking. It was true. Standing before the blood-red portal, Zhao Xian's face had gone pale. He'd talked a big game, but the aura of a Hell-tier dungeon was terrifying. Realizing the crowd was watching, he cursed under his breath, steeled his nerves, and jumped in after me. The notary robot's voice echoed through the hall. The wager is live. Timers are starting, now. The world blurred. When my vision cleared, I was standing at the mouth of a desolate valley. Jagged black mountains surrounded me under a leaden sky. A biting, freezing wind howled through the rocks. Monster Mountain Range. I remembered this from my history books. This place had been corrupted by the abyss long ago, turning a lush ecosystem into a graveyard of mutated horrors. The dungeon was a perfect recreation of that nightmare. Come out, panda, I whispered. A massive taiji formation expanded across the ground. From the center of the light, a 2-meter-tall panda appeared. He was wearing tattered Taoist robes and looked almost cuddly, until he struck a perfect, white crane spreads wings pose. Woo, he grunted softly. My lip twitched. All right, panda. I get it. You know kung fu. I checked his stats again. His average attributes were around 25 points, double that of a standard level 1 warrior. Combined with his legendary tier skills, he was a walking tank. Our only weakness was gear. I couldn't afford a high-tier set, so we were going in naked. But in a place like this, the best gear was the loot we were about to take. See our crack. The rocks above the path shattered. For massive shadows burst from the cliffside, hurtling toward us like falling boulders. Stone-armored beast, level 3. Asterisk type, common monster. Skills, stone armor, heavy ram, asterisk. Level 3 mobs right at the entrance, and 4 of them. That was the Hell tier experience for you. Most level 1 players would be crushed instantly by that kind of momentum. I didn't move a muscle. Kill them. Panda stepped in front of me. He didn't look scared. He didn't even look excited. He just shifted his weight, his black and white paws moving like flowing water. Tai Chi grasped the sparrow's tail. The first beast slammed into him with the force of a freight train. Panda didn't push back. He absorbed the impact, his body pivoting slightly as he caught the beast's momentum and redirected it. With a subtle flick of his wrist, he sent the multi-ton monster crashing into its own comrade. The air around him seemed to ripple with an invisible force field. This wasn't just a skill, it was a masterclass in redirection. The counterattack was coming, and it was going to be devastating. The full force of the stone-armored beast's charge slammed into Panda, but he didn't budge. He used Grasp the Sparrow's tail, catching the beast's momentum and redirecting it with a fluid twist of his body. He spun the energy around and hurled it toward the second beast. Boom. A shock wave of energy exploded. Both monsters were launched backward, slamming into the cliffside with enough force to embed them deep into the rock. They didn't even have time to howl. They were crushed into a bloody mess instantly. Asterisk level 3 stone-armored beast killed. Experience +9, asterisk. Asterisk level 3 stone-armored beast killed. Experience +9, asterisk. 18 points of experience just like that. Between the Hell tier difficulty multiplier and the bonus for killing mobs at a higher level, my efficiency was through the roof. I felt a surge of excitement. At this rate, I'd level up in no time. Panda didn't stop to celebrate. He turned toward the other 2 beasts. They were fast, but they weren't epic tier panda fast. He moved like a blur, executing another Grasp the Sparrow's tail. 2 more thuds echoed through the valley. Experience, 36 out of 100. I was already over a third of the way to level 2. My next golden trait was getting closer. Standard newbie squads would have struggled for their lives against 4 of these things, likely facing a total wipeout. But Panda stood there, completely unscathed, slowly lowering his paws into a finishing stance. He looked like a grandmaster. Oh, look at all this loot, I muttered, walking toward the bodies. In dungeons, monsters are made of crystal energy. When they die, their bodies vanish, leaving behind the spoils. I saw 4 energy crystals, a skill book, and a piece of gear. Crystals sold for at least 10,000 yuan each on the exchange, so I'd already made 40,000. The book was Rockfall, a common Earth-type skill for mages. Then there was the gear, Great Rock Armor. It was common tier, adding 50 health and 5 physical defense, though it cut agility by 2. I put it on immediately. As a summoner, survival was my priority. If I needed to run, I could always strip it off later. I signaled Panda to keep moving. According to my textbooks, the Monster Mountain range had 3 zones: the foothills at the entrance, the dangerous mountainside, and the final boss area in the abyss. Level 3 mobs should have been everywhere here, but the path ahead was empty. The mountain had gone quiet. Maybe we were too loud. These low-level mobs had felt the threat and were hiding, trying to lure me into the higher-level zones where the Real killers lived. I wasn't falling for it. In Hell-tier dungeons, the monsters have high intelligence. They're as cunning as the ones in the wild. I remembered a story from class about a mage who spared a cute monster only for it to backstab her healer. Her entire team died because of that one moment of mercy. Search the mountain, I ordered. Don't leave a single one alive. Panda's eyes sharpened. He began scanning every crevice and bush, eager for the hunt. Outside the dungeon, a crowd had gathered. They couldn't see what was happening inside, but they were placing bets on who would fail first. Most people assumed I wouldn't even make it past the first mob. 10 minutes have passed, someone whispered. Lin Yuan is still in there? That's actually impressive. Another 20 minutes, another said, checking their watch. 30 minutes total. Even Zhao Xian is staying in longer than I expected. Suddenly, the portal flashed. A weak, battered figure collapsed onto the ground. The crowd rushed forward, buzzing with excitement. Is it Lin Yuan? Did he finally get kicked out? Wait, it's young Master Zhao. Zhao Xian lay on the dirt, gasping for air. Seeing the crowd, he felt a twisted sense of pride. He'd survived 30 minutes in a hell-tier dungeon. He hadn't shamed the Zhao family name. In reality, his wind-chasing wolf had been mangled by the very first wave of stone-armored beasts. He'd spent the rest of his time sprinting and hiding in bushes until a monster finally sniffed him out. It was a pathetic performance, but in his mind, winning was all that mattered. He looked around, enjoying the attention, and saw his secretary looking pale and panicked. When did Lin Yuan come out? Zhao Xian asked smugly. 10 minutes ago? 5. The secretary bit her lip, her voice trembling. He hasn't come out yet. Zhao Xian bolted upright, his eyes widening until they were nearly popping out of his head. What? He couldn't process it. He had an excellent tier beast and barely survived by hiding. How was Lin Yuan still in there? The crowd started whispering. Zhao Xian came out first. Then he lost the bet. Lin Yuan actually beat him? No one in the elite class has ever done that. Zhao Xian's face went pale, then red with rage. He hadn't just lost a bet. He'd lost over 2 million yuan, money intended for 3 dungeon runs. Now he didn't even have his 1 free entry left. It was a total disaster. How is he still in there? Zhao Xian hissed, staring at the portal. Why haven't the monsters found him yet? Inside the dungeon, I was asking the same thing. Where are these monsters hiding? Panda and I were doing a literal sweep of the foothills. My backpack now held 9 crystals, 2 skill books, and a heavy axe. Experience, 81 out of 100. I'd hunted down 5 more stone-armored beasts. I wanted to hit level 2 before moving to the mountainside. I had no idea what Zhao Xian was doing, but I assumed he was moving just as fast as me. Finally, 3 more shadows emerged. Gray-haired hunters, level 3. They were trying to pin me down, waiting for me to move into the mountainside so they could ambush me from behind. It was a clever plan, but they didn't expect me to hunt them first. Panda stepped forward, his paws moving in a rhythmic blur. Whether it was armored beasts or fast hunters, it didn't matter. Under the power of his Tai Chi, everything was a one-hit kill. These gray-haired hunters weren't as sturdy as the armored beasts. They lacked that raw, bone-crushing impact. Panda didn't even need to use his defensive Tai Chi moves. With an attack stat more than double that of a standard warrior, he was a force of nature. One punch, one kill. I watched the notifications roll in. 9 experience points for the first hunter, 9 for the second. By the time the third one hit the dirt, I had racked up 27 points from the group. A golden light erupted around me. I felt a surge of warmth flowing through my limbs. Level 2. Finally, my base stats jumped across the board. Strength, constitution, agility, and spirit all increased by 5 points. I also gained 5 free attribute points. But the real prize was my talent. I had earned another infinite gold trait draw. This was exactly what I had been waiting for. I quickly looted the hunters, pocketing 3 crystals and a gray hat. Without hesitation, I dumped all 5 of my free attribute points into spirit. For a summoner, spirit is everything. It dictates the strength of the contract, the growth of the beast, and the raw damage of their skills. Then, I triggered the draw. The familiar golden spectrum swirled around me. Hundreds of golden streaks blurred past my eyes, humming with power. I didn't wait this time. I reached out and snatched a glowing streak right out of the air. A new epic tier trait appeared. You are what you eat. It was a growth-type trait. It allowed the beast to digest any item and gain permanent attribute bonuses based on what was consumed. My eyes lit up. In the early game, growth traits are worth 10 times more than combat traits. They build the foundation for a god-tier monster. I immediately assigned the trait to Panda. A soft glow covered his fur as the trait took hold. He was still an epic tier summon, but now he was something more. He needed to grow. He needed to eat. The problem was, I didn't bring any snacks. I rummaged through my bag and pulled out a monster crystal. Can you eat this? I asked, holding it out. Panda looked at the crystal for half a second, snatched it, and tossed it into his mouth. Crunch. A notification popped up. Consumed crystal. Spirit +1, max mana +20. I stared at him. He looked like he just ate a piece of candy. It actually worked. Crystals were pure energy, so they boosted his mental stats. My mind started racing. What else could he eat? I pulled out the heavy iron axe I'd looted earlier. How about this? Panda didn't even hesitate. He bit the iron head right off the handle. Crunch. Crunch. Consumed heavy axe. Strength +1. This was insane. He was literally eating weapons to get stronger. This trait was just as broken as his Tai Chi. I kept digging through my backpack and found a skill book for a move called Full Power Strike. It was a consumable item, but at its core, it was still a book. Panda took the book, rolled it up like a burrito, and swallowed it in one go. Consumed skill book. Strength +1. I laughed out loud. Knowledge really is power. Panda looked a bit disappointed, though. The book was too small. He barely tasted it. I decided to go all in. I pulled out my last skill book, Falling Rock Technique, and handed it over instead of saving it to sell. He gulped it down. Consumed skill book. Earth Element Mastery, +3%. Now we were talking. Element Mastery was the hardest stat for mages to increase. It boosted elemental damage and reduced incoming magic damage. If I fed him enough, I could make him a walking nightmare for any spellcaster. I made a mental note. Once I got out of here, I was going to buy every cheap skill book on the market. With my bag empty and Panda fed, we left the foothills and began the climb toward the mountainside. The atmosphere changed instantly. The cliffs were steep and narrow, and a biting cold wind whistled through the rocks. This was the territory of high-level monsters. In a normal run, these creatures acted as mini-bosses. I hadn't walked 10 paces before a sharp cry pierced the air. A streak of silver and blue flashed across the sky. It was a thundercloud hawk, level 5. Its feathers shimmered with faint sparks of electricity. This was an elite-tier monster, the flying equivalent of a green-grade summon. Its combat power was double that of a normal beast. Flying types are a nightmare for early-level players. If a team doesn't have ranged attackers, it's an automatic wipe. Panda scratched his head, looking up at the bird circling high above us. He couldn't reach it. Don't worry, I said, eyeing the hawk. I'll bring him down to your level. I found a flat spot, laid down on my back, and flipped the bird a very clear, very universal middle finger. These dungeon monsters have tempers. The stronger they are, the more arrogant they get. Seeing a puny human mock, it was more than the hawk could stand. It screeched in rage, tucked its wings, and dove at me like a bolt of lightning. Panda, I said calmly, staying flat on the ground. If you don't stop him, I'm going to look very stupid. I wasn't actually worried. I knew what Panda could do. As the hawk neared the ground, Panda stepped in. His paws moved in a graceful, circular motion, the 24 styles of Tai Chi, cloud hands. He created a swirling vortex of energy that caught the air around the hawk. The bird's suicidal speed suddenly hit a wall of invisible sludge. It tried to pull up, but it was too late. Panda's massive paw came down like a fly swatter. Slap! The hawk hit the ground dead. 15 experience points. I was already nearly a quarter of the way to level 3. I stood up and brushed the dirt off my clothes. The hawk's body vanished, leaving behind a glowing blue book. A Thunderstrike skill book, fine grade. This was a tier higher than the basic books I'd fed Panda earlier. I didn't even look at the market value. I just handed it to Panda. He rolled it up and ate it. Consumed Thunderstrike. Agility +3, Lightning Element Mastery +6%. The higher the quality of the item, the better the stats. At this rate, Panda's attributes were going to leave everyone else in the dust. I checked his status screen. Asterisk Kung Fu Panda. Level 2. Strength, 41. Constitution, 35. Agility, 41. Spirit, 34. Asterisk. Most epic tier summons only gained about 10 points per level. My Panda was already sitting on stats that would make a level 10 warrior jealous. And we were just getting started. Panda's current attributes were insane. He had 3 times the stats of a warrior at the same level. In this world, the higher the quality of a summon, the more explosive their growth became. It was no wonder the big corporations and guilds spent fortunes to secure high-tier summons for their heirs. I started thinking ahead to the National College Entrance Exam. It was only 10 days away. Most students would still be under level 10 by then, with only a few geniuses reaching their first job advancement. If I could show up with 1 or 2 legendary tier summons, the look on their faces would be priceless. That exam determined everything: your future, your college, and your government subsidies. If I could break into the top 50 nationally, a top-tier university would cover all my expenses. And if I ranked even higher, the benefits were classified. As someone who hated wasting money, that was all the motivation I needed. But first, I had to level up. Going from level 2 to level 3 required 300 experience points. In a hell-tier dungeon, that wouldn't take long. I hadn't walked more than a few steps when 6 or 7 dark shadows flickered in front of me. These weren't like the low-level mobs from before. These were elite-grade monsters, ghost-tail wolves, level 5. They had thick fur, glowing green eyes, and a thirst for blood. Each one was as strong as a level 5 warrior, and they were pack hunters. A howl echoed through the valley. If there were more of them nearby, they'd be here in seconds. I couldn't let them swarm me. I only had 1 summon, and if the pack got too large, they might break through and get to me. Panda, go. Don't let them gather. Panda didn't hesitate. He charged. He used Tai Chi cloud hands, creating a field of internal force that pulled the entire pack into his rhythm. Their speed dropped instantly, their movements becoming sluggish as if they were running through water. Then, Panda unleashed his only area of effect skill, double peak, to the ears. He slammed both palms inward with a burst of Tai Chi energy. It was a perfect move, offense and defense combined. Since it was a max-level legendary skill, the power was terrifying. Boom! A shockwave erupted. Half the wolves were pulverized instantly. The other half were left dazed and stunned. Panda moved like a blur, finishing them off with a single strike each. Killed Ghost Tail Wolf. Experience +15. My experience bar jumped by a third. At this rate, I'd hit level 3 before I even reached the mountainside zone. I walked over to check the loot. 5 crystals, 2 pieces of equipment, and a skill book. I found a pair of Ghost Wolf leather boots that added 3 points to agility. I put those on immediately. The other item was a fine-grade bow. Since I couldn't use it, I fed it to Panda. Consumed Wolf Spirit Bow. Agility +1, strength +1, critical rate +3%. Then I picked up the skill book. My heart skipped a beat. It was a fine-grade summoner skill. Finding a book for your own class was rare, especially this early. Asterisk skill, summon Ghost Tail Squirrel. Type, agility, asterisk. The quality didn't matter to me. With my system, I could add traits to make even a weak summon god tier. I needed an agility type scout to complement Panda's tanky, brawler style. My spirit stat was at 30 now, plenty high enough to support a second contract. Learn, I whispered. A small, nimble figure appeared in my summoning space. It was a tiny squirrel with razor-sharp claws and a distinctive black tail. I summoned it immediately. It landed on my shoulder, twitching its nose. I checked its stats. Level 2, with 11 agility. But the best part was its passive talent, keen perception. It could detect hidden enemies and traps from a distance. This was exactly what I needed to speed up my farming and avoid ambushes. Let's go, I said, feeling much safer. Level 3 in 1 hour. That's the goal. While I was deeper in the mountains, the atmosphere outside the portal had turned from shock to confusion. It had been 2 hours. How is Lin Yuan still in there? Someone whispered. It's a hell-tier dungeon. The monsters hunt you down. You can't just hide. The students looked at Zhao Xian. He looked miserable, but a glimmer of hope appeared in his eyes. The dungeon must be broken, Zhao Xian muttered, loud enough for others to hear. There's no way he's alive. The portal must have malfunctioned and trapped him inside. That's the only explanation. His secretary quickly nodded. Exactly. Young Master Zhao barely survived with an epic summon. How could a loser like Lin Yuan last 2 hours? It's a glitch. The rumor spread fast. People started calling for the academy dean or even the city lord to intervene. Meanwhile, at the city lord's manor, a powerful man slammed his desk. This was Lin Yuan's city's leader, a legendary 6th-rank hunter known as the King of Hunters. You're telling me my handcrafted beginner dungeon is glitching? He roared at his subordinate. I built that thing with top-tier abyss materials and soul laws. It's not an old TV you can just smack. What happened? The subordinate trembled. Sir, a student entered the hell-tier difficulty alone. A summoner. He's been in there for over 2 hours and hasn't come out. The city lord froze. Alone? Hell-tier? And he's just a fresh graduate? He grabbed his coat. This wasn't a glitch. This was either a suicide or a miracle, and he wanted to see which one it was. 2 hours had passed, and I still hadn't come out. Outside, the city lord of Lin Yuan City, Wan Feiping, was deep in thought. Known as the King of Hunters, he was a legendary 6th-rank powerhouse. His hair was a bit messy, and his face, marked with faint scars, showed a rare trace of bewilderment. His assistant stood nearby, looking worried. It's been over 2 hours, sir. Do you think he's hiding his true strength? Wan Feiping let out a dry laugh. If it were one of those rich kids from the elite class, I'd believe it. But a kid from the regular class? Where would he get strength like that to hide? The assistant nodded, realizing his mistake. As Wan Feiping stood up to head toward the dungeon portal, he muttered to himself. He had designed that hell-tier difficulty specifically to crush the egos of those arrogant elite students. He wanted them to know there was always someone better and to realize how terrifying demons truly were. It wasn't meant to be beaten. In that case, how could anyone clear it? The assistant asked. Exactly, Wan Feiping replied, grabbing a set of keys. Hurry, get the repair materials and soul restoration items from the warehouse. If the portal is actually glitching, I'll have to fix it myself. Inside the dungeon, I had no idea about the chaos outside. I wasn't worried at all. In fact, the farming was getting easier. My only concern had been a surprise ambush, but with my squirrel scouting ahead, I was never caught off guard. The squirrel tracked the enemies, and I lured them into traps. Panda was a beast. With his insane stats, he didn't even need skills most of the time. One palm was usually enough to end a monster. If not, two did the trick. Notifications flashed constantly. I killed thunder bamboo shoots for 15 XP, gray wolves for 30, and stone-armored beasts for 40. My experience bar was soaring. Along the way, I fed the loot to Panda, boosting his stats by another 7 or 8 points. Suddenly, the squirrel scurried back to me. It stood on its hind legs, tail erect. In its left paw, it held a fine-grade short sword I'd given it earlier. In its right paw, it held a small blue flower. It was a windbell flower. This was a green quality herb that stored wind element energy. These were rare in dungeons, purified by supernatural forces. I hadn't expected the squirrel to have a knack for foraging. Good job, I said, patting its head. I took the flower and handed it to Panda. If he could eat equipment and skill books, a herb should be fine. It was tiny in his massive paw, but the effect was instant. Panda gained 10 points in speed and a 7% boost to wind element mastery. He really could eat anything. I made a mental note to buy more herbs once I got out. As we moved forward, Panda lunged at a stray gray wolf that had been separated from its pack. One hit, and it was over. A golden light erupted around me. I had reached level 3. My stats jumped. Strength +3, Constitution +3, Agility +5, and Spirit +10. I also got 5 free attribute points. But the best part was my talent. I had earned another infinite gold entry draw. I rubbed my hands together, feeling the excitement. The level 5 monster zone was cleared. It was time to pull. Golden entries swirled around me like a sea of stars. This time, I reached out with both hands, trying to grab 2 at once. My luck wasn't that high, though. I ended up with just 1. I pulled a legend tier entry, Shadow Master. This was a pure combat entry. It allowed the user to control shadows and become an assassin in the dark. It felt just as powerful as the Tai Chi Master entry. I thought about it for a second. Panda was my frontline tank and brawler. I needed an assassin. I assigned the Shadow Master entry to the squirrel. The transformation was immediate. The squirrel evolved from a green-grade creature into an orange-tier epic summon, the Shadow Squirrel. Its fur turned pitch black, shimmering with a dark, ghostly light. Its aura changed completely. At level 3, its stats were terrifying. Strength 43, Agility 49, Spirit 38. It gained 3 powerful skills, Shadow Shield, Shadow Clone, and Shadow Bind. The Shadow Clone skill was insane. For 20 mana, it could create a clone with 80% of its original stats that lasted 4 hours. With its current mana pool, the squirrel could theoretically summon 40 clones at once. I had just created a one-man army. As the squirrel grew, my own stats increased through the feedback loop. My constitution was now almost as high as a warrior of the same level. A level 3 summoner with 2 epic tier pets? No one would believe it. With my confidence at an all-time high, I led my team toward the final stage of the Hell tier dungeon, the Sunken Valley. The valley wasn't quiet. The ground was cracked, glowing red with heat, and charred bones were scattered everywhere. It looked exactly like the hell described in my history books. Suddenly, a roar shook the sky, vibrating in my chest. There were no minions here. No elite guards. Just one massive, demonic figure stepping out from the shadows of the valley. I caught my breath as I looked at its stats. This was a true monster. The king of the mountain range, the Scarlet Demon Lion. It was level 10, rare grade, and its strength was a staggering 145 points. Its constitution was 140. Agility 105. Spirit 68. It had a terrifying arsenal of skills. Ink Breath, Crushing Impact, Searing Claw, and the Bloodline of the Lost. This was a 5-star rare beast. In this world, stars represented the sub-tiers within a grade. 5 stars meant it was the absolute peak of the rare category. I stared at the Scarlet Demon Lion's attribute panel, and the truth finally hit me. I understood why no one had ever cleared the Hell tier difficulty. The stats were simply broken. The Monster Mountain range was a novice dungeon. Only professionals under level 9 could enter. But facing a boss like this, it had massive attack power, a deep health pool, and blinding speed. Even a full team of 4 level 9 experts would likely be wiped out by a single strike. I realized the dungeon designers hadn't intended for anyone to actually win. This wasn't a challenge, it was a death sentence. According to my history books, this Scarlet Demon Lion was the actual Beast King from the era when the Great Qin Dynasty first fought to reclaim the mountains. Its combat experience was legendary. The beast snorted, a gust of hot air rolling toward me like a furnace blast. As the final boss of the Hell tier, it hadn't seen a challenger in ages, let alone a lone summoner. But in that heartbeat of silence, a plan formed in my mind. It was risky, but I had to try. If anyone else had been there, they would have called me insane. One breath from that lion would turn me and my summons into ash. A level 3 summoner shouldn't stand a chance. But I saw a gap in its perfection. Squirrel, summon 20 shadow clones. Charge, I commanded. Creating 20 clones cost 400 mana, half of the shadow squirrel's current pool. No textbook would ever recommend such a reckless waste of energy. But the squirrel didn't hesitate. It unleashed its skill in a rapid-fire burst. 20 black blurs materialized and sprinted toward the lion. Panda, squirrel, stay back for now, I muttered, holding my main summons in place. The scarlet demon lion looked at the incoming swarm with pure disdain. It opened its massive jaws and unleashed ink breath. A wave of black fire erupted, incinerating all 20 clones instantly. I grinned. Success. It looked like a suicidal move, but it was a classic tactic from the games I played in my past life, baiting the cooldowns. As a top student at the War Academy, I knew the lore of these monsters by heart. Ink breath was the lion's only area of effect skill. Unlike the squirrel's clones, that breath had a long recovery time. Now that its crowd control was gone, it was my turn. Go, panda. Squirrel. The shadow squirrel moved first, sinking into the ground. This was Shadow Shield, a top-tier stealth skill that allowed it to merge with any shadow. The lion didn't care. It didn't even view my summons as a threat. It let out a low, rumbling growl. It had seen teams flee in terror just by looking at its stats, yet I was still standing there. The beast wanted to end this quickly. It lunged at Panda, its claws glowing with searing heat. But then, something impossible happened. The strike felt like it hit cotton. Panda's paws moved in a rhythmic, circular motion, catching the massive claw and redirecting the force. It was the ultimate expression of Tai Chi, using softness to overcome hardness. I watched, heart racing. This was it. The skill allowed Panda to neutralize and reflect 200% of the damage back at an opponent, provided the enemy's strength wasn't 10 times its own. Panda shifted its weight and pushed back with a sudden, explosive palm strike. The force caught the lion right on its skull. I heard the sickening crack of bone. The Beast King's eyes went wide, blood spraying as it staggered back. A normal attack would have barely scratched it. But Panda had used the lion's own massive strength against it. A strike to the head was lethal. This was the core of my strategy. Tai Chi couldn't stop a magic breath, but once that was gone, the lion's physical power became its own worst enemy. The scarlet demon lion collapsed, heavily wounded and trembling with rage. It was the king of the mountain range, yet it had been outplayed by a human. It tried to roar, tried to stand for one last desperate strike. Now, shadow bind. Shadows rose like chains, wrapping around the lion's limbs. In its prime, the beast could have snapped those bindings easily. But now, broken and bleeding, it couldn't move an inch. Damn you! The lion seemed to growl with its final breath. The squirrel formed a blade of pure shadow and drove it deep into the lion's eye. Even then, it took Panda and the squirrel another minute of relentless attacking to fully extinguish the monster's life force. A golden notification flashed before my eyes. Final boss slain. Experience plus 500. Congratulations. You are the first professional to clear the Hell Tier Novice Dungeon. You are now ranked number 1 on the National Hell Tier leaderboard. First clear reward. Experience plus 1000. Exclusive first clear treasure, chest X1. My body surged with power. I had reached level 4. My talent triggered again, granting me another unlimited gold trait draw. Meanwhile, outside the dungeon, a massive crowd had gathered. Word had spread that the dungeon might be malfunctioning. Even the vice dean of the War Academy had arrived. Zhao Xian stood near the entrance, his smug expression returning. People were whispering all around him. If the dungeon glitched, what happens to Lin Yuan? He's probably being mauled over and over. Poor guy. What about the bet? Lin Yuan's 2 million yuan is definitely gone now. Zhao Xian's smirk widened. Even the vice dean sighed, thinking I had simply let my past academic success go to my head. Suddenly, the massive blue screen above the portal flickered. The names of the current teams vanished. A giant, golden announcement scrolled across the display in letters so bright they were blinding. Congratulations to Lin Yuan from the War Academy. First clear of the Hell Tier Novice Dungeon, Monster Mountain Range. ranked number 1 on the national leaderboard. The silence that followed was absolute. For 10 long seconds, nobody breathed. Zhao Xian, the vice dean, and every single student stood frozen, staring at the screen in total shock. The crowd stood in stunned silence. Confusion and disbelief washed over their faces like a physical wave. Nobody could believe it. A commoner summoner? A guy with no money to train his beasts, someone whose combat power was supposedly weaker than a basic warrior? He had cleared a hell tier dungeon. It felt impossible. Then, every head turned simultaneously toward the leaderboard. This was the official record for the novice dungeon. Before today, it only showed rankings for normal, advanced, hard, nightmare, and calamity. Now, under the glowing header for hell tier, a single name appeared at the very top. Rank 1, Lin Yuan. Clear time, 2 hours, 13 minutes. The vice dean adjusted his glasses, staring hard at the screen. He looked like he was questioning if his eyesight had finally failed him. Beside him, Zhao Xian and his female secretary turned deathly pale. Their faces were completely drained of blood. This wasn't just a local school ranking. This was a national leaderboard. My name was etched there for the whole country to see. There was no denying it anymore. Is he insane? Someone whispered. Soloing hell tier? He must be a monster. And it only took him 2 hours? I remember the record for calamity tier was over 4 hours. If they knew that the terrifying final boss was actually the part that took me the least amount of time, I wondered what they would think. Some people in the crowd started to murmur, wondering if this was the true hidden potential of a commoner summoner. They questioned if rich kids were actually worse at the class. It was a ridiculous thought, but my performance had shattered their reality. Zhao Xian looked like a ghost. The light in his eyes vanished. He was finished. But his secretary was even more terrified. She had insulted me this morning, calling me a fool. Now she realized she had insulted a man who held a national record. Her body began to tremble. Her entire status depended on the Zhao Guild, and she had just offended a potential superstar. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. It was a message from the president of the Zhao Guild, Zhao Xian's father. You're at the War Academy, right? The message read. A national number 1 just appeared there for the hell tier dungeon. Find him immediately. Build a relationship at any cost. This kind of talent will be scouted by every major guild and corporation. Even if we can't recruit him, we must show him goodwill. The secretary's scalp went numb. How was she supposed to tell her boss that she had spent the morning mocking the very person he wanted to bribe? Across the city, in the city lord's manor, Wan Feiping had just finished gathering the expensive materials needed to repair the glitched dungeon. His assistant burst into the room again, panting and frantic. Lord City Lord, you don't need to go. The dungeon isn't broken. Are you kidding me? Wan Feiping growled, his face darkening. No, that student didn't get stuck. He cleared it. He cleared the hell tier novice dungeon. It's on the national announcement. Wan Feiping, a powerful 6-tier hunter, froze for 2 solid seconds. He had designed that hell tier difficulty himself. He had made it specifically to humble arrogant rich kids. How, he muttered. The boss I designed. It's impossible for a novice. The record is there, sir. It's real. You don't need to worry about the repairs anymore. Before the assistant could finish, Wan Feiping grabbed him by the collar with a massive, muscular hand. Are you stupid? This is even more important. A national number 1 appeared in my city. Forget the repairs. I need to see this kid. He tossed the repair materials aside and sprinted out. He was so fast he looked like a tank crashing through the manor's front gates. His assistant sighed, watching the dust settle. Sir, the academy is to the north. You're running south. Inside the dungeon, I was oblivious to the chaos outside. I was staring at the flood of notifications. The rewards for a first-ever hell tier clear were staggering. The dungeon would collapse in 10 minutes. So I moved quickly to check my loot. The boss, the Crimson Demon Master, had dropped 3 items. I also had 10 new mana crystals, bringing my total to 26. That was worth 260,000 yuan. Being a professional was definitely the fastest way to get rich. Next were 2 pieces of level 4 rare equipment. First was the Crimson Demon Blade. It had a massive 140% damage multiplier, plus 10 points to both strength and agility. Its special effect was the real prize. It ignored 30% of an enemy's defense. Second were the Crimson Spirit Bracers. These gave 10 points to strength and 5 to both constitution and agility, with a 40% boost to attack speed. These were top-tier rare items, nearly as good as epic great. Even someone like Zhao Xian, with a major guild backing him, only had basic rare gear. High-stat items like these were rare on the market and usually cost millions at auction. I didn't hesitate. I equipped the Crimson Demon Blade on my Shadow Squirrel and gave the Crimson Spirit Bracers to my Panda. Summoned beasts could wear gear just like players, which was why the class was so powerful and so expensive. Keeping a full team geared up would bankrupt most people, but for me, it was an investment. Finally, I pulled out the first clear treasure chest. The textbook said these had a high chance of dropping class-specific gear. Come on, give me something good, I muttered. A deep red glow burst from the chest as the lock clicked open. You have opened the Hell Tier first clear chest. Received, 100 mana crystals. Received, Hell's Newcomer Badge, accessory. Received, Spirit Ring, exclusive equipment. 100 crystals? That was 1,000,000 yuan right there. My heart raced. I looked at the badge first. It gave 10 points to every single stat: strength, agility, constitution, and spirit. It was a commemorative item, something the military valued highly as a mark of courage. For me, the stats alone were incredible. The badge was a passive item. I didn't even need to wear it. Just having it in my backpack granted me the bonuses. I tucked it away and turned my attention to the exclusive equipment, the Spirit Ring. It was an excellent tier item, specifically for summoners. It granted 10 points to agility, 20 to spirit, and a massive 200 to mana. But the special effects were what really caught my eye. If my summoned beasts were near me, my movement speed increased by a staggering 100%. On top of that, it had an active skill called Aura. It allowed me to copy one skill from a contracted beast and store it for my own use. It cost 100 mana and had a 1-hour cooldown. My jaw dropped. I realized this was part of a set, one half of the spirit set. The speed boost alone was incredible for a fragile summoner, but copying a skill changed everything. For a normal summoner who relied on a swarm of weak monsters, this might be mediocre. But my beasts had epic and legendary skills. I thought about the Shadow Squirrel's Shadow Shield, or its Shadow Clone. If I could use those myself, my survivability would skyrocket. I immediately put the ring on. My spirit stats surged to 88 points. That was double what a mage of my level would have. I didn't waste time. I activated the ring and chose to copy the Shadow Squirrel's Shadow Shield. A strange sensation washed over me, a lingering urge to melt into the shadows. I held it back, keeping the skill stored for an emergency. If anyone tried to ambush me outside the portal, they were in for a lethal surprise. Next, I checked my experience. I was sitting at 805 out of 1,300 for level 4. Killing the boss gave me 500 points, and the first clear bonus added another 1,000. I had skipped level 3 entirely and was already halfway to level 5. That meant another talent roll. I triggered the draw. A golden light flooded my vision as countless words blurred past. I waited a few seconds before reaching out. You have drawn a golden legendary talent, Treasure Sniffer. This talent allowed me to smell the scent of nearby treasures, identify their value, and pinpoint their exact locations. My eyes lit up. This was a top-tier utility skill. It would be perfect for the next zone I planned to visit. Then, I looked at the timer and cursed. I only had 5 minutes and 14 seconds left before the dungeon forced me out. After the boss dies, the instance only stays open for 10 minutes. This was a hell-tier dungeon. There had to be rare herbs and hidden loot scattered around. I hadn't looked for them before because I didn't want to waste time, but now I had the perfect tool. I immediately assigned the Treasure Sniffer talent to my Shadow Squirrel. It was fast, agile, and had a keen nose. Evolution successful, the system chimed. Shadow Squirrel, Epic, has evolved into Shadow Treasure Sniffer Squirrel, Epic. The squirrel's appearance didn't change much, but its quality rating gained an extra star. It started sniffing my clothes frantically. Stop sniffing me, I muttered. Go find the treasures. The squirrel twitched its nose, locked onto a scent, and vanished into the brush. Use your clones, I shouted after it. We're low on time. Bring back everything you can. For shadows split off from the squirrel, racing in different directions. It was the ultimate scavenging combo. I watched the clock tick down. For minutes, 3 minutes. At the 2-minute mark, the main squirrel returned carrying a bright red fruit. This was the highest value item it could find. I checked the stats. It was a moyen fruit, a blue rare item infused with fire energy. It was used for high-level alchemy or explosives. Rare fruits like this were usually only found by the military or top-tier universities. I didn't feel like selling it. I tossed it to my panda. "Eat up," I said. "You are what you eat." The panda gulped it down. A small explosion echoed from its throat, and a puff of black smoke escaped its lips. Its strength jumped by 6 points, and its fire element mastery increased by 15%. With the level-ups and the fruit, its strength was now a terrifying 83 points. With only seconds remaining, the 3 clones returned. They brought back 3 more windbell flowers. The squirrel didn't even wait for my command this time. It just tossed them into the panda's mouth. It was a hilarious sight. The flowers added 27 points to speed and 18% to wine mastery, but I noticed the gains were diminishing. The more it ate of the same item, the less the "you are what you eat" talent provided. I sighed. There went my plan of feeding the panda 100 swords to make it invincible. The countdown hit 0. A white light enveloped me, and the mountain range vanished. That 2 million yuan bet should be mine now, I thought, a smirk forming on my face. But as the world materialized around me, the smirk froze. I wasn't met with silence. I was met with a wall of cameras, flashing lights, and a sea of screaming people. Reporters from the Yuan City Daily and various professional news outlets had the exit blocked off. "Lin Yuan, how does it feel to be the first person to clear a hell-tier dungeon? You're a summoner from the ordinary class. Have you discovered a secret playstyle? Is it true you only entered the dungeon because of a bet?" Flashbulbs popped in my face like rapid fire. I was surrounded. I looked at the frantic reporters and then at the shocked faces of my classmates. I realized then that my quiet life was over. I just wanted to clear a dungeon, but I had accidentally turned myself into the biggest news story in the city. Even if your family was drowning in money, it was hard to get a dozen news outlets to show up for a private interview. Yet here they were, all swarming me at once. I realized that even if my college entrance exams went south, this level of fame could turn me into a massive influencer. I'd never have to worry about money again. Before I could say a word, a young man in a sharp suit pushed through the crowd. When the onlookers saw his uniform, a wave of whispers broke out. He was from East China Tactical University. I'd never heard of the place, but the people around me were losing their minds. Apparently, it was a specialized school that trained tactical commanders, the kind of elite talents that high-level professional teams fought over. The man walked straight up to me with a beaming smile. "Student Lin Yuan," he said warmly. "I'm a recruitment officer for East China Tactical University. Tell me, have you self-studied tactical theory?" I blinked, confused. Tactical theory? I knew what it was, analyzing battlefields and constructing complex strategies for high-end combat. But as I thought back to my run through the dungeon, I remembered just charging in and killing everything in sight. Did that count as a tactic? "No," I said, shaking my head. "I've never studied it." Instead of looking disappointed, the recruiter's face lit up with pure joy. He looked like he'd just found a gold mine. To him, the fact that a student from an ordinary class could clear a hell-tier dungeon without formal training meant I was a natural-born tactical genius. He probably thought I'd manipulated the monsters into killing each other or used some brilliant environmental trap. "A genius," he exclaimed, his eyes glowing. "If you can do this on pure instinct, imagine what you'll achieve with systematic training. You'll be a tactical grandmaster." He grabbed my hand, looking revitalized. "Lin Yuan, if you pass a simple assessment, I can offer you special admission. We'll even throw in a top-tier freshman subsidy." The crowd exploded. Special admission? A subsidy? Last year, less than 3 people in the entire city of Lin Yuan got that kind of treatment. Some students were jealous, while others claimed the school must be a scam. But those who knew better shut them down quickly. East China Tactical was ranked second in the country. I looked at the invitation that everyone was dying for and slowly shook my head. "I'm sorry, but I'm not interested in the tactical major." With the knowledge from my past life, I knew I could be a great tactician, but I wanted to be on the front lines. I wanted the thrill of the fight. Besides, if I wasn't fighting, how could I level up or draw new talents? The silence that followed was heavy with shock. People looked at me like I was insane. The recruiter didn't give up, though. He figured I was just young and stubborn. He handed me his business card and told me to call him if I changed my mind after the exams. He was clearly planning to snatch me up before any other school could. Suddenly, Zhou Wei, the school's vice principal, shoved his way forward. He looked desperate to claim my success as a win for the school. Lin Yuan. A tactical major is perfect for someone with your unique profession, he said, putting on a fake, fatherly tone. I glanced at him and didn't hide my disdain. I knew his type. A workplace parasite who took credit for others' work and played favorites with the elite classes. And you are? I asked coldly. His face froze for a second before he forced another smile. I'm Vice Principal Zhou Wei. Oh, I said, acting like I just remembered. Since I just set a new record for the school by clearing a hell-tier dungeon, I assumed there's a reward, right? He choked on his words. There was no official rule about rewards for dungeon records, but with all the cameras pointed at him, he couldn't say no. Of course, he stammered. I was satisfied with that answer, but I didn't want to waste any more time. I turned to leave, but a penguin-shaped fair play robot blocked my path. A holographic screen popped up, announcing the results of my bet with Zhao Xian. Zhao Xian failed. Time, 29 minutes, 36 seconds. Lin Yuan, success. Time, 2 hours. Winner, Lin Yuan. The robot dispensed a silver savings card. I took it, my heart racing when I saw the balance. 2.37 million yuan. Zhao Xian had said there was at least 2 million on it, but he'd left an extra 370,000. I guess rich kids really didn't count their change. The reporters turned into sharks the moment the result was confirmed. They started screaming for Zhao Xian, looking for a quote on how it felt to be the first elite student to lose a bet to an ordinary kid. But Zhao Xian was already gone, fleeing the scene in total humiliation. His female secretary followed close behind. She had orders from his father to recruit me at any cost, but with the press around, she couldn't exactly do her job. I used the chaos to slip away. I headed straight for the old faculty building to find my class teacher, Lu Boyan. I needed to share the good news, but more importantly, I needed to prepare for my next move before the college entrance exams. I reached her office, which was tucked away in a quiet corner. The sign on the door read, Abyssal Creature Investigation Department. I took a breath and pushed the door open. Lu Boyan was still hunched over her reports when I walked in. She didn't even look up at first. Back already? She teased. Did you give up on the novice dungeon? Don't tell me you failed to clear it. I felt a bit helpless. Ever since she retired from the military, my teacher spent most of her time handling investigations for the army. She rarely paid attention to school gossip, which was probably why she was still just a homeroom teacher instead of moving up the ranks. Teacher, I said, leaning against the doorframe. I heard a student just achieved the first Hell tier clear in the history of the academy. Lu Boyan finally dropped her pen. She looked up, her interest piqued. We actually have that kind of talent in this school. Hell tier isn't just about raw power. You need tactics and the ability to adapt under extreme pressure. She noticed the weird look on my face. I was trying very hard not to smirk. What? She asked. Do you know this person? You know him too, I said. He's a model student. Exceptionally handsome, charming, brilliant, and brave. A true dragon among men. Lu Boyan stared at me for several long seconds. She knew me too well. I never praised anyone that much unless I was talking about myself. But she still couldn't bring herself to believe it. Wait, she stammered. I don't think I know a student like that. Come on, teacher, it's me, I said, cutting the act. Check your phone. The news is everywhere. She pulled out her phone and her eyes went wide. My face was plastered across every local news site. Some articles even mentioned her name as my mentor. How did you do it? She whispered. Her eyes were a mix of shock, pride, and genuine happiness. I started to explain, but she raised a hand to stop me. You probably had some stroke of luck or found something valuable that allowed you to clear it, she said firmly. Don't tell me what it was. Don't tell anyone. Keep your secrets safe. A wave of warmth went through me. I nodded. I understand, teacher. She let out a long breath, trying to process the news. But my next sentence made her blood pressure spike instantly. By the way, teacher, I want to go to the blighted lands outside the city. I need you to sign off on me becoming a temporary scout for the Demon Suppression Army. Are you insane? She roared. You want to go there and die? The blighted lands, or the abyss frontier, weren't like the dungeons. Dungeons were controlled environments. The frontier was a zone where the abyss was actively eroding our world. There were no game-like rules there, only terrifying, unknown demons. One mistake meant death, but my reason was simple. High risk meant high reward. Killing an abyss demon gave 3 to 10 times more experience than a dungeon monster. Plus, the military rewarded successful scouts. Most importantly, the treasures there were real, not generated by crystals. With my panda's treasure hunting skills, I could strike it rich. I didn't want to scrap for crystals like other students. I wanted the thrill and the loot. It's out of the question, Lu Boyan snapped. Scouts are the vanguard. Even the weakest demons there would shred a level 2 or 3 kid. I'm level 4, I countered. Almost level 5. Heltier gave a lot of XP. She looked surprised, but didn't budge. Still no? You need to be at least level 10 to be a scout. I know you're in a hurry, but don't rush this. I'll give you the crystals myself. Go run the novice dungeon a few more times. In 2 days, the school is hosting a massive group dungeon. You'll hit level 10 by the exams. I sighed. I didn't want her charity, and I didn't want to just barely reach level 10. The top 50 candidates in the country were usually level 12 or higher. Teacher, I said quietly, think back to your time. Before dungeons existed, how did people level up? She went silent. Dungeons were a recent invention, built by high-level heroes using materials scavenged from the abyss. Back then, she whispered, lost in memory, we had no choice. Level 1 awakened had to go to the frontier and fight for their lives. We had no gear, no safety. We lost 95% of our people to build the defense lines we have today. Exactly, I said. If they could do it, why can't I? I'm not rich, teacher. I can't keep buying dungeon entries. If I want to ace the exams, I have to take the hard path. She looked like she had a toothache. The army won't take anyone under level 10. But you're the head of the Abyssal Investigation Department, I pointed out. If you appoint me as a special investigator, I can bypass the level requirement and join the scout unit. She stared at me, stunned. How do you even know about that? I'm just highly motivated to succeed, I said. 10 minutes of silence later, I walked out of the office with a signed certificate in my hand. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., South Gate, she called out after me. It's the South Gate, not the North. And if you get into trouble, don't tell them you're my student. I headed toward the exit, whistling a tune. If I could farm the blighted lands, my level would skyrocket. I might even find some rare artifacts. My whistling stopped abruptly. A man stood in my path. He had messy brown hair, a scar across his face, and his clothes were rumpled. It was Wan Faping, the city lord of Linyuan. I recognized him instantly. I had made his city famous today, so it made sense he'd come looking for me. He just took his time getting here. Good kid, Wan Faping said, flashing a smile that was supposed to be friendly but looked more like a bandit's grin. I finally found you. Don't be scared, he added, noticing my expression. I'm the city lord, not a bad guy. I thought to myself that those two things weren't necessarily mutually exclusive, but I kept my mouth shut. He was a level 6 powerhouse, one of the best in the country, but he had the vibe of a total rogue. He stepped forward and threw a heavy arm around my shoulder like we were old war buddies. Listen, kid, he said, leaning in close. I've got a deal for you. You did well clearing the hell-tier difficulty I designed, Wan Faping said, his voice booming. You even managed to make Linyuan City famous for once. He leaned back, his bandit-like grin widening. As a reward, I'm letting you pick any one item from the Linyuan City vault. My eyes lit up instantly. The fake smile I'd been holding vanished, replaced by genuine excitement. One item? Any item. I'm Wan Faping, he grunted, slapping his chest. My word is my bond. Let's go. The Linyuan City Vault was also known as the City Lord's private treasury. It held the greatest wealth in the entire region, countless pieces of gear, rare tools, and exotic treasures. Only the City Lord had the authority to open it. I knew I'd get a reward for my performance, but I didn't expect him to be this generous. As we walked toward the City Lord's manor, Wan Faping kept talking. Linyuan, It's been a long time since our city produced a real talent. For the last 2 years, those bastards Wei and Wu have been laughing at me. They said Lin Yuan has no talent because their city lord is a crude brute. He paused, then shrugged. Well, they weren't entirely wrong about the brute part. I bit my tongue to keep from laughing. If I remembered correctly, he was talking about Wu Ming and Wei Zhong, the heads of the East and Central China regions. In this world, the threat of the abyss had forced the country to consolidate into 5 major districts. Lin Yuan was just a small city in the East. This guy was just a local city lord, yet he was casually insulting the top leaders of 2 entire districts. Strength really did let you do whatever you wanted. Suddenly, Wan Feiping hooked his arm around my neck again in that rough, brotherly way. He pulled out his phone and opened the camera. Come on, kid. Let's take a photo. I need to piss them off with this. My corner of my mouth twitched. I felt like a prop, but I held up a peace sign anyway. Wan Feiping bared his teeth in a massive grin. Click. The photo was saved. He immediately started typing a message with aggressive thumbs. City Lord? I asked tentatively. About that reward? He didn't even look up. He just tossed a gold card at me. That's the vault key. My assistant, Chun, will take you. Go wild. I stared at the gold card in my hand. He just gave it to me like it was a piece of junk mail. I wasn't stupid enough to try and steal anything, though. A level 6 hunter like him could end my life in a heartbeat if I crossed the line. Assistant Chun led me to the vault. When the heavy doors groaned open, I gasped. The room was massive, filled with rows of equipment and artifacts. Most of them were rare tier or higher, glowing with a dizzying array of colors. You may choose one item, Student Lin Yuan. Chen reminded me from the doorway. I nodded and summoned my shadow squirrel. Go on, buddy. Pick the most expensive thing in here. Wan Feiping probably didn't realize my summon had the ability to sense the value of items. If there were too many choices, I'd just let the squirrel's nose do the work. The little guy scurried into the aisles, looking like a kid in a candy store. Finally, the squirrel stopped in front of a chest. Inside was a dark, jagged crystal with purple veins. Asterisk item, unknown crystal from the abyss. Use, unknown. Data, analysis failed, asterisk. Even in this era of game-like stats, some things remained a mystery. That was why people like Liu Boyan had jobs in the investigation department. This crystal was clearly the most valuable thing in the room, but I couldn't use it, and I definitely couldn't sell it. Next one, I whispered. We passed a church sculpture from a dead world and a piece of void meteorite that could only be touched by void creatures. My frustration grew. Because Lin Yuan was so close to the abyss, the vault was full of weird, unusable junk. The most valuable items were all things humans couldn't touch. I turned a corner, ready to give up on the high-value shelf, when I saw a cloak. It pulsed with a familiar energy. It was dark violet, with a silver contract seal embroidered on the back. Asterisk item, Spirit Aura Cloak, Summoner Exclusive. Quality, excellent. Stats, plus 20 agility, plus 20 spirit. Effect, increases summon attack speed by 50% when nearby. Skill, Spirit Shield, passive, asterisk. The shield strength was equal to my spirit plus 1000% of my summon stamina. My heart skipped a beat. This was the second piece of the Spirit Aura set. I already had the ring I'd found in the first clear chest. Exclusive sets were unique. Once a set appeared, no one else in the world could farm it. I never thought I'd find the matching piece here. This is it, I said, grabbing the cloak. I draped it over my shoulders. A notification flashed in my vision. Set bonus activated, 2 halves. Summon damage coefficient increased to 150%. My damage output just jumped by 1/3. But the real prize was the shield. With my spirit at 108, the panda's stamina at 67, and the squirrel's at 48, my passive shield hit a staggering 2,230 points. For a normal summoner, it wouldn't be that high, but my epic tier summons had insane base stats. I walked out of the vault feeling invincible. Wan Feiping was waiting outside, looking very pleased with himself, likely because he'd successfully annoyed his rivals with our photo. That cloak looks good on you, he remarked. It suits you perfectly. I froze. You knew I had the other piece of the Spirit Aura set. Had he specifically left this for me? Was this all a setup? Wan Feiping looked at me, confused. What set? I just meant that black cloak makes you look cool. Very edgy. I stared at him for a second, then sighed. Right. He was just being a gear snob. I left the manor as the sun began to set. It was 7:30 p.m. I headed home and opened a trading app to buy supplies. I needed bamboo for the panda and pine nuts for the squirrel. We were heading to the Blighted Lands tomorrow morning, and I needed them at peak performance. Even though summons can survive on pure energy, they still like to eat. Just as I was about to close my phone, a text message popped up. Asterisk, your bank account has been credited with 1 million yuan. Source: War Academy Elite Student Reward. Asterisk. My current balance sat at 5,194,750 yuan. The vice principal had come through with the promised academy reward, adding another million to my account. Honestly, I felt like he was being a bit stingy. Maybe it was because I'd just received an excellent tier piece of gear from the city lord, but 1 million didn't feel like as much as it used to. Still, I wasn't going to complain about free money. I immediately spent 60,000 yuan on a massive stockpile of bamboo and pine nuts. Then, I looked into buying some cheap gear to feed to my panda. My jaw dropped. A single rare tier item cost at least 700,000 or 800,000 yuan. Were they trying to rob me? I thought having 5 million made me wealthy, but in the world of high-level professional gear, I was still a broke loser. After a long internal struggle, I bit the bullet. I spent a fortune on 5 rare tier weapons. Tomorrow's journey into the Blighted Lands was too dangerous to take chances. If I didn't prepare, I wouldn't make it back alive. By the time I finished shopping, my account was back down to a cold 1.4 million. I told myself it was an investment. As long as I got stronger, I could always earn the money back. A short while later, a courier knocked on my door. He handed over a heavy package. Your trade house delivery, sir. I thanked him and took the box inside. It was incredibly heavy. A normal person would have struggled to carry it. I opened it and looked at the 5 weapons. Open wide, I told the panda. I stuffed the weapons into the panda's mouth one by one. It hurt my heart to see all that money disappear in a few bites, but the stat notifications made it worth it. Feeding him a great spirit hammer gave him 8 points of strength. A wind-walking sword added 2 strength and 2 agility. By the time he finished the warrior twin blades and the rest, his stats were terrifying. At only level 4, my Kung Fu Panda had 103 strength, 67 physique, 82 agility, and 54 spirit. Those numbers were higher than a level 10 warrior wearing a full set of gear. I felt a lot more confident about the Blighted Lands now. I climbed into bed and fell into a satisfied sleep. While I slept, Zhao Tian, the head of the Zhao Guild, was busy screaming at his son, Zhao Xian, and his secretary, Chen Qian. I had become the first person in the country to solo a hell-tier dungeon, and these two had managed to offend me. Zhao Tian was furious that he couldn't recruit me. Zhao Xian, however, looked surprisingly confident despite the scolding. Dad, don't worry about Lin Yuan. He's just a commoner summoner. The more beasts he summons, the more he has to feed. He'll never be able to afford his own growth. His future is limited. Even if he cleared that dungeon, I can still make him work for me. Zhao Tian calmed down slightly. Go on. A ticket for the Hell-tier dungeon costs 3 million yuan in spirit stones, Zhao Xian explained with a smug grin. Lin Yuan needs to practice, but he doesn't have that kind of money. I'll pay for his tickets. If he doesn't carry me, he doesn't get to enter. He'll become nothing more than a tool to help me level up. I'll sit back, soak up the experience, and surpass him in no time. Zhao Tian's eyes lit up. He loved the idea. Without money or a guild, I would eventually hit a wall where I lacked gear, skills, and resources. That's my son, Zhao Tian praised. Go to the dungeon entrance early tomorrow. Do whatever it takes to get him into a party with you. Don't worry, Dad, Zhao Xian sneered. He doesn't have a choice. The next morning, Zhao Xian stood at the entrance of the novice dungeon, waiting to spring his trap. He waited for 1 hour, then 2. By the 5th hour, his smug smile had turned into a mask of rage. I was nowhere to be found. Finally, a student from a local class mentioned they saw me leaving the city. Zhao Xian realized then that I had no intention of grinding in the safe dungeons. I was heading into the wild. He had wasted half a day waiting for a tool that never showed up. Damn him, Zhao Xian roared. How does he dare go outside the city walls? I didn't know about Zhao Xian's little circus act. I was busy walking toward the southern gate of Lin Yuan City, wearing my spirit aura cloak. The massive walls separated the thriving city from the dangers lurking outside. This area was the closest human settlement to the abyss. The streets were lined with weapon shops, blacksmiths, and pharmacies. I stopped at a pharmacy to buy health and detoxification potions. Once you left the city, there were no safe zones. There was only the unknown and the terrors of the blighted lands. At the gate, soldiers from the Demon Suppression Army blocked my path. High school students aren't allowed to leave alone, one said. Go find a parent or a teacher to escort you. I was ready for this. I pulled out the credentials my teacher had helped me secure. Lin Yuan, Special Investigator for the Abyss Research Department. I'm on a mission. The soldiers' expressions immediately turned solemn. They snapped into a crisp military salute. Understood. We wish you a safe return. 2 guards stood at attention while the other 2 heaved open the heavy southern gates. I took a deep breath and stepped through. Outside was a different world. A vast, desolate wilderness stretched toward a horizon covered in a thin, eerie mist. The air felt heavy, almost suffocating. I hiked through nameless ruins, watching the city walls shrink behind me. After 20 minutes, I reached a hidden camp. It looked like a standard training ground, but deep inside, I saw the emblem of the Demon Suppression Army, the elite force China created to fight the abyss. I was heading for the Scout Battalion. The blighted lands were just beyond their camp, held back by their presence. Halt! 2 guards shouted as I approached. Identity check. This process was much stricter than at the city gate. They checked my retinas, my voice print, and finally, my power levels. Lin Yuan. Summoner. Level 4. High school student. Special Investigator. The guards stared at my ID, their voices rising in disbelief with every word they read. Show us a skill. I nodded and summoned my squirrel. Once they verified my energy signature, they let me in, but I could hear them whispering behind my back. Level 4, and he's entering the blighted lands? Are kids today just fearless or suicidal? Inside the camp, I saw dozens of young people gathered. They were all temporary scouts recruited to help the army map out the rapidly expanding blighted lands. Most were college freshmen or members of private guilds. I was the only high schooler there. The moment I walked in, every eye in the room landed on me. I had officially become the center of attention. Listen up, everyone, a loud voice boomed. A veteran soldier dressed in the dark uniform of the Demon Suppression Army stepped forward. This was Su Feng, the commander of the 1st Scout Battalion. He stood with a rigid posture that commanded instant respect. First of all, welcome to the opening of Blighted Land number 19, Su Feng announced. The atmosphere changed instantly. People who had been lounging or chatting straightened up. We all knew it was time for business. Soldiers began moving through the crowd, handing out small supply packages to every recruit. I opened mine and looked inside. There was a distress flare, a detailed briefing on Blighted Land 19, and a temporary identification badge. Once you enter the Blighted Land, if you encounter a high-level demon, use that flare immediately, Su Feng warned, his eyes scanning the crowd. I, or other rank 3 and rank 4 officers, will handle the heavy hitters. Your job is simple: clear out the low-level grunts. Any loot you find is yours to keep, or you can trade it in for military merit points. The mention of loot and merit points made the air thick with greed. People's eyes started to glow with excitement. I ignored the chatter and focused on the briefing. I learned that the abyss's demonic energy pollutes our world, turning the land into these blighted lands. They are numbered based on when they appeared and how strong the corruption is. Number 19 was the newest and weakest area, the perfect place for me to grind levels. Commander Su Feng didn't waste time with long speeches. You're dismissed, he said. You can head out alone or in teams. Check the bounty board for extra missions before you leave. They all count toward your merit. The room erupted into a frenzy of activity. Most people were around level 10, and they scrambled to find teammates to increase their survival odds. I stood there alone. Nobody approached me. To them, a level 4 summoner was just a liability, dead weight waiting to happen. Is that kid crazy? Someone whispered nearby. Level 4, and he's heading into a blighted land? Must be some rich brat looking for a death wish. Level 4, another sneered. He probably used a back door to get in. But who pulls strings just to commit suicide? I ignored the insults and walked straight to the bounty board. I didn't want a team, and I certainly didn't need one. My eyes scanned the list. Collect Faceless Demon or Blood Sea Demon corpses. 20 merit points each, unlimited. Recover lost supplies in Area 19, 500 merit points. Map out Area 19, 300 merit points. Bonus for completeness. There were dozens of tasks. I memorized as many as I could. I wasn't sure if I could finish them all, but it didn't hurt to keep them in mind. The only problem was, I had no idea how to actually spend the merit points. Suddenly, a faint, pleasant scent drifted past me. A girl dressed in black walked up. She was tall, with a lithe, athletic build and a steady, confident stride. She looked only a year or two older than me, likely a college student. "Little brother," she said, her voice smooth and teasing. "You dare come here without even knowing how to use merit points?" I turned to see a delicate, beautiful face with a playful smirk. I raised an eyebrow. "Why call me little brother? You aren't exactly huge." She chuckled, ignoring my jab. "Listen, 1,000 merit points gets you into the first floor of the Demon Suppression Army's vault to pick a treasure. 2,000 for the second floor, 4,000 for the third, and so on. Or, you can just trade them for cash." My eyes lit up. Picking my own treasure from the Army's vault? That sounded a lot better than the random rewards I'd seen back in Linyuan City. "Got it now, little brother?" she asked, her eyes crinkling with mischief. Before I could argue, she snatched the Lost Supplies mission from the board and walked away. I stood there stunned. She had just teased me and vanished. I tried to use my appraisal skill on her, but it came back blank. My skill works on anyone within 20 levels of me. Either she was way higher than level 24, or she was wearing high-end concealment gear. I shook it off. She was just a passing stranger. I stepped through the portal and entered Blighted Land 19. The world turned gray and suffocating. The sky was choked with thick, ashen clouds that barely let any light through. This place used to be a famous scenic park, but now it was a wasteland of shadows and decay. I immediately summoned my shadow squirrel. "Go. Scout the path ahead." The squirrel chirped and split into 2 shadow clones, darting into the darkness. In a place this gloomy, my squirrel was in its element. It was a natural-born scout. A few minutes later, a mental alert flashed in my mind. The squirrel had found something. I crept forward and saw a rotting, gray-green figure lurking in the mist. Its face was a twisted mask of agony. Corpse Demon, level 10. Type, Common Demon Soldier. Attributes, Strength 50, Constitution 45, Agility 47, Spirit 1. Trait, Undying Body. It will keep attacking as long as a single piece of its body remains. Demons were much scarier than the monsters in the training dungeons. They didn't just have higher stats, they had traits, which were like human talents, unpredictable and dangerous. "Panda, go," I whispered. "Use Tai Chi, smash it into dust." I wanted it pulverized so that Undying Body trait wouldn't matter. Thanks to my gear, Panda's movement speed was doubled and his attack speed was up by 50%. He blurred across the gray grass, his paw glowing with internal energy. Crack! The strike landed like a thunderclap. The corpse demon exploded. Most of its body turned to mist instantly, but a single, severed hand landed on the ground. Even detached, the hand began to twitch and crawl toward us, its fingers clawing at the dirt. I frowned. My stats weren't high enough to vaporize it completely in one hit. Nearby, a level 11 archer from another team happened to glance over. His jaw dropped. Holy, am I seeing things? That level 4 kid summoned just one-shot a level 10 corpse demon. His teammates didn't even look up. Shut up, man. A level 10 demon is a tank. We're level 10 and we struggle with them. No way a level 4 kid is one-shotting anything. You're hallucinating. The archer rubbed his eyes, starting to doubt himself. Back on the field, my shadow squirrel darted in. It drew its tiny blades and sliced the twitching hand into mincemeat. Asterisk killed corpse demon, LVL 10. Experience plus 90, asterisk. I grinned. 90 experience points for 1 kill? This was definitely the right place to be. The experience points here were several times higher than in the training dungeons. My leveling speed was about to skyrocket. I glanced at my experience bar. I was at level 4 with 895 points out of 1,300. I only needed 5 more corpse demons to hit level 5. Suddenly, I had an idea for maximum efficiency. Squirrel, I called out. Use your shadow clones to lure the monsters. Bring 5 of them together at once. Then I looked at my panda. Once they're bunched up, use dual wind ears. We're going for area of effect damage. A single punch might not vaporize a corpse demon completely, but a massive burst of AoE energy definitely would. Shadow Squirrel nodded obediently. Luring monsters was easy for him. The only problem was finding enough of them in one spot. Half a minute later, 5 corpse demons were lured from different directions, crashing into each other as they chased the shadow clones. Panda was already rubbing his paws together. He moved like a blur. Whoosh. His Tai Chi energy exploded outward. The internal force ripped through the 5 demons simultaneously, grinding them into fine dust before they could even twitch. Asterisk killed corpse demon X5. Experience plus 450. Asterisk. Asterisk ding. Your level has increased to level 5. Asterisk. I felt a surge of power. It hadn't even been 10 minutes since I entered this polluted zone, and I was already level 5. If the other high school students preparing for the college entrance exams knew about this, they'd die of envy. I dumped my 5 new attribute points into spirit, as usual. Then, the golden light returned. It was time for a new talent draw. I stood in the sea of shimmering gold cards, hoping for a combat-related trait. This place was full of unknown dangers, and the stronger I was, the better my chances of survival. I reached out and grabbed a card. You have drawn the golden legendary trait, Battlefield Legend. My heart skipped a beat. A battlefield legend? This trait represented a legendary existence with unparalleled combat experience and perfected techniques. In this world, the Demon Suppression Army was stronger than average professionals because they had been baptized by the Abyss. They had the veteran edge. This trait didn't just give me that edge, it surpassed it. I didn't hesitate. I assigned the trait to Panda. He was my frontline fighter. He needed those instincts more than anyone. Trait assigned successfully. Summoned Beast. Kung Fu Panda has evolved from Epic to Epic 6-star. In the Epic tier, 6-star was the absolute limit, just one step away from becoming a golden legend. His stats bloated instantly. His strength jumped from 113 to 153. His agility went from 92 to 142. But more importantly, he gained 2 new passive skills, Battle-Hardened and Legendary Fame. I checked the descriptions. Battle-Hardened reduced skill cooldowns and stamina consumption by 50%. It also dropped the effect of negative status ailments by 80%. Legendary Fame was even better. It was an aura. It increased the attack power of all nearby allies by 25% and attack speed by 40%. Panda's Tai Chi skills used to have a 1-minute cooldown. Now, 30 seconds. His stamina was basically doubled. I looked at my own status bar and saw the Legendary Fame buff active. Then, I looked at the spirit ring on my finger. A wild thought crossed my mind. Could I use the ring to copy Panda's aura and stack them? I raised my hand. Copy, Legendary Fame. Asterisk skill copied successfully. Replacing existing aura skill, asterisk. I checked my status again. My jaw dropped. I had 2 separate buffs, one from Panda and one from myself. The bonuses stacked. I now had a 50% attack boost and an 80% attack speed boost. Time to grind, I muttered. My killing speed was about to become legendary. While I was deep in the mountains turning demons into dust, the atmosphere back at the Scout Battalion camp was tense. Commander Su Feng sat in the command tent, surrounded by clerks monitoring life sign monitors. They couldn't track the monsters, but they could track the progress of the scouts. On a virtual sand table, dozens of light dots representing the scouts were slowly crawling forward. This Zone 19 is tough, Su Feng grumbled, rubbing his chin. The first wave of demons is slowing them down. They're moving half as fast as the teams in Zone 18. He watched the map. Some dots were stalled. Some were even retreating, pursued by monsters. He sighed and shifted his gaze to the far edge of the map. Suddenly, he froze. One single light that was screaming across the terrain. While the other scouts had only pushed a few hundred meters, this had traveled nearly 5 kilometers into the heart of the polluted zone in just 1 hour. It was moving 7 or 8 times faster than the professional teams. And it was alone. Su Feng rubbed his eyes, certain the machine was broken. But the dot kept moving, deeper and faster than even the most elite veteran scouts. He slammed his hand on the table, pointing at the screen. Who is this? Check the ID tag. Who the hell is this person? A clerk frantically typed at a terminal. Sir, it's the high school student from the War Academy. Lin Yuan. Su Feng stood there, completely stunned. He remembered that name. It was the level 4 summoner, the kid with the lowest level in the entire group. The level 4 kid? Su Feng whispered. Actually, sir, the clerk corrected, staring at the data. He's level 5 now. Su Feng took a sharp breath, his eyes glued to the screen. A summoner? Wasn't that supposed to be a late-game class? How could a level 5 kid be this aggressive? He wondered if I was some rich heir with a high-tier beast provided by my family. But even that didn't explain this kind of raw efficiency. He rubbed his face, feeling completely baffled. He admitted that when he first saw a level 4 summoner on the roster, he thought I was just some brat using family connections to gold-plate my resume by participating in a polluted zone expedition. It happened all the time. Rich kids from the big universities would come to the Red Monkey camp to boost their credentials, but they usually had 0 combat skills and even worse mental fortitude. None of them could solo like this. This kid is a real prospect, Su Feng muttered. He turned to the clerk with a serious expression. Keep a close eye on him. Right now, he's only fighting common monsters. He lacks battlefield experience. If he runs into an elite-tier demon, he'll get slaughtered. Notify me the second things go south. Inside the dungeon, I had no idea I was being watched. I checked my experience bar after an hour of nonstop grinding and felt a surge of excitement. It was already over 80%. Beside me, Panda threw a casual palm strike, the Tai Chi force shattering the last corpse demon in the area into dust. A notification popped up, * killed corpse demon. Gained 90 EXP, level 5, 1755/2100, *. There aren't enough monsters in this zone, I complained to myself. If the density were higher, I would have leveled up again by now. Panda didn't seem to mind, though. As a veteran of 100 battles, his stamina management was perfect. He didn't look tired at all. Honestly, I was the one getting bored just walking behind him. Suddenly, a mental pulse hit me. One of my squirrel shadow clones had sent back intel. I snapped out of my daze. An elite-tier demon had appeared at my 8 o'clock position. I had sent out 12 squirrels in every direction to act as a radar system, and it was paying off. I followed the signal and crept toward the location. I peered through the ruins and saw it. A 2-meter-tall skeleton monster. Its body was a patchwork of blood-red bones, and cold blue flames flickered in its eye sockets. Its fingertips were sharpened into wicked bone spikes. Blood skeleton demon. Level 15. Type, elite. An elite at level 15, I whispered. Is this really what high schoolers are supposed to face? It was definitely stronger than the common mobs. In this world, demons followed a hierarchy similar to ancient military ranks: common, elite, general, commander, overlord, and emperor. Or, as the soldiers called them, soldiers, sergeants, generals, marshals, kings, and emperors. A sergeant-level demon like this blood skeleton was on a completely different level than a corpse demon. I checked its stats. Strength 116, Constitution 99, Agility 108. It had a passive called Blood Frenzy. If it wounded an enemy, its attack speed and power would double. It also had skills like Blood Poison Sting and Bone Shield. A level 15 elite was basically as strong as a human warrior of the same level. Seeing this made me realize why humanity had been pushed back so far since the Cataclysm began. This was just an elite. How terrifying would a general or an emperor be? Still, I wasn't worried. If Panda were only a 2-star epic, this might be a tough fight. But at 6 stars, it would take 2 hits at most. As I moved closer to engage, I realized I wasn't alone. A group had beaten me to it. Or rather, the blood skeleton had found its prey first. Down in the rubble, a 4-person scout team was struggling. They were all level 11 or 12, but they were being overwhelmed. The blood skeleton was a wall of defense with its bone shields, and its bone spikes kept them at bay while 3 corpse demons flanked them. Forget the small ones. Focus fire on the elite, the captain yelled. He was a greatsword fighter, trying his best to hold the front line. Behind him were an assassin, a female archer, and a female priest. The two girls looked terrified. Dealing with these grotesque demons was a nightmare for their morale. I can't ignore them. They're getting too close, the archer cried. She fired a triple shot to peel a corpse demon off the priest, but then the captain screamed a warning. Lin Feifei, move. The blood skeleton ripped a rib from its own chest and hurled it like a javelin. The archer, Lin Feifei, dove out of the way, but the bone spike grazed her thigh, tearing through her jeans and drawing blood. The team turned pale. The blue flames in the skeleton's eyes instantly flared into a deep, murderous red. It let out a guttural roar. Blood frenzy had activated. Its speed and power doubled instantly. Use the distress charm, the captain barked, desperately swinging his sword. The charm would signal the camp for help, but in this chaos, there was no guarantee anyone was close enough to save them in time. I didn't know these people, but I wasn't going to watch them die. Besides, that elite experience was mine. Squirrels, lock down the skeleton. Panda, clear the rest, I commanded. The blood skeleton was about to lunge for the kill when it suddenly froze, its neck jerking back as if grabbed by an invisible hand. The captain, braced for a blow that never came, stared in confusion. Before the three corpse demons could reach the girls, Panda lunged forward. He threw two palms into the air, releasing waves of Tai Chi energy that rippled through the space. The impact was muffled but devastating. Boom. The three demons exploded instantly. Killed 3 corpse demons. Gained 270 EXP. Panda's strike was a blur. 3 corpse demons vanished in a spray of bone and dark energy. Killed 3 corpse demons. Gained 270 EXP. The two girls in the back stared, their eyes wide with disbelief. They had been ready to die, but now, hope flared in their eyes. They knew a powerhouse had just saved them. To shatter 3 demons in a single blow required a level of strength they couldn't even fathom. Lin Feifei, the archer, slowly let go of the distress charm in her hand. She looked at me, then at Panda, her brow furrowed in concentration. She recognized me. I was that level 4 kid from the camp entrance. But she couldn't wrap her head around it. How could a weak summoner possess a beast this terrifying? I stepped out from the shadows. The 4 of them looked like their eyes were about to pop out of their heads. It's him, the captain whispered. The high schooler. He really is a summoner. I didn't blame them for being shocked. Not many people come to the contaminated zones alone, especially not at level 4. But I didn't have time for small talk. My eyes were locked on the blood skeleton. It was time to finish this. Watch out, the captain yelled, his voice cracking with panic. It's in a frenzy. Get back. I didn't move. Neither did Panda. With his legendary buffs active, Panda's attack speed was nearly doubled. He lunged forward, his movement leaving a faint trail of afterimages. He swung a single palm, infused with the heavy weight of Tai Chi energy. Crack. The skeleton's head shattered into a cloud of white splinters. The red glow in its eye sockets flickered and died instantly. Silence fell over the clearing. Lin Feifei and her team looked like they were having a collective stroke. A level 15 elite, the thing that almost wiped them out, had just been slapped to death by a level 5 summon. A warm surge of power flowed through my veins. Killed elite monster, blood skeleton. Gained 375 EXP. Level up. You are now level 6. Talent triggered. You have gained 1 infinite golden trait draw. I wasn't surprised. With Panda's current stats, anything less than a one-shot would have been a disappointment. I walked over to the remains and swept the loot into my bag, for crystals and a piece of blue-tier gear. I even grabbed the skeleton's body. It was worth 20 military merits back at camp. I wasn't about to let money rot on the ground. The captain, a man named Hushan, walked up to me and gave a respectful bow. Thank you for the save, expert, he said. He didn't care that I was younger or technically a lower level. In this world, strength is the only currency that matters. He told me they were from the East China Hunters Guild. I recognized the name. They were a top-tier organization, nearly as powerful as the Zhao family. Have you seen any more elites around here? I asked. The experience from that skeleton was massive. If I could find a few more, I'd hit level 7 in no time. Hushan gave me a bitter, helpless smile. Most teams were praying to avoid elites, and here I was, hunting them like rare collectibles. If we had run into another one, we wouldn't be standing here, Hushan admitted. I nodded, realizing they couldn't help me. Hushan took the hint and gathered his team to leave. Before they vanished into the trees, Lin Feifei turned back and waved. I'm Lin Feifei. If you ever need a hand, look me up. I gave a non-committal wave back. I preferred working alone. Once they were gone, I sat down to rest. I pulled out some bamboo for Panda and a handful of pine cones for the squirrels. While they ate, I checked the new gear. Bloodbone armor, rare. It was level 10 assassin gear with a solid defense boost and a lifesteal shield effect. It was a great piece of equipment, but I couldn't wear it yet. I tossed it into storage for later. I needed to level up faster. Time for the main event, I whispered. I triggered the level 6 reward. The familiar sea of golden light swirled around me, faster and brighter than before. A golden icon shaped like a glowing eye stopped in front of me. You have drawn a legendary trait, Eye of Insight. My heart skipped a beat. This trait allowed me to see through illusions, analyze enemy stats, and read an opponent's skills before they even used them. For a summoner who needed to control the battlefield, this was God tier. Most traits went to my summons, but this one felt different. I focused my mind and applied the trait to myself. I felt a sharp, cold sting in my eyes, and then the world transformed. Everything was sharper, clearer, and full of hidden data. I wasn't just a summoner anymore. I was the master of the board. The Eye of Insight trait was a success. It worked on me perfectly, though it didn't provide any raw stat boosts. I checked my talent panel and saw the new icon pulsing there. A flood of understanding washed over me, explaining exactly how the trait functioned. It wasn't just a skill, it was a fundamental shift in how I perceived reality. I decided to test it immediately. I focused my gaze on a small crater nearby, a mark left behind by Panda's Tai Chi shockwaves. My pupils shifted to a brilliant gold. A torrent of data flowed through my vision, manifesting as thin, golden threads weaving through the air. A notification box popped up next to the crater. It described the hole as a minor depression caused by residual internal energy. It was incredible. Normal scouts could only use appraisal skills on players or monsters, but the Eye of Insight let me analyze everything, even the grass and the dirt. Nothing could hide from me now. I turned my head, scanning the battlefield. Text floated over the scuffed earth. Combat traces detected. Blood Sea Demon engaged with human professionals. Blood Sea Demon deceased. My heart raced with excitement. I felt like the world's greatest detective. If I could get back into the city's treasure vault now, I could probably identify every unknown item in the room with a single glance. Information was power, and in a place like this, it was the ultimate weapon. Then, my eyes caught something else. A line of text hovered in the air just a few feet away. Scouting skill Bells of Silence detected. Released by an assassin class professional 30 seconds ago. Someone was watching me. I deactivated the Eye of Insight just as a voice like silver bells rang out from behind me. Hey there, little brother. You're pretty impressive, taking down an elite demon like that. Want to team up with Big Sister? I turned around. It was the girl in black I had seen earlier. She was alone, her form-fitting outfit highlighting a sharp, athletic figure. She was beautiful, with delicate features and lively peach blossom eyes that crinkled with a playful smile. She didn't look much older than me, yet she insisted on calling herself Big Sister. I stayed silent, my mind racing. I had sent my squirrels out to scout the entire perimeter, yet she had bypassed them completely. She was dangerous. Earlier, my basic scouting panel couldn't even see her level. You're leveling up for the college entrance exams, right? She asked, unfazed by my silence. I found a demon stronghold. There are at least 10 elite demons there. 10 elites? If I cleared them all, I wouldn't just hit level 7. I'd gain enough experience to bridge half the gap to the next level after that. My experience bar would explode. Where? I asked immediately. She blinked, then burst into a fit of giggles. I'm supposed to be a beauty, you know. You ignore me completely until I mention elite demons, and then you get all excited? Truly, how are you ever going to find a girlfriend? She was being modest. She was easily one of the top 2 most beautiful girls I had ever seen. But this was a high-danger zone, and she was a mystery. I needed to know who I was dealing with. I triggered the Eye of Insight again, locking onto her. A detailed character sheet manifested in my vision. Name, Yuan Xiaoyu. Class, Dark Spirit Assassin, Rare, Level, 19. Stats, Strength 266, Constitution 212, Agility 311, Spirit 184. Equipment, Shadow Short Blade, Epic, Ring of Shielding, Superior. Asterisk background, freshman at East China 5-Star University. Daughter of Wan Pingqiu. Ranked 79th nationally in last year's exams. Asterisk. Skills, bomb making, trap making, fried rice. Measurements, 86, 69, 90. My eye twitched when I reached the bottom of the list. I shut the skill off instantly. The level of detail was insane. It felt like I was peeking into her private life. No wonder I couldn't see her stats before. That ring of shielding was designed to block all standard scouting. But nothing stayed hidden from the Eye of Insight. One thing bothered me, though. Why was a level 19 genius from one of the top 5 universities in the country hanging out in a low-level danger zone? She should have access to the best training grounds and government resources. What's wrong? Yuan Xiaoyu asked, her eyes narrowing as she studied my face. Why are you staring at me like that? Trying to figure out my class. It's nothing, I said, quickly shifting the topic. Let's talk about that demon stronghold. So you're agreeing to team up? She asked, her smile returning. I had my reasons. Someone who ranked in the national top 100 wasn't likely to be a psychopath. Plus, with her epic tier gear, she was clearly loaded. What's the worst a rich girl could do? Besides, if a level 19 assassin needed a partner, that stronghold had to be seriously tough. I'm Yuan Xiaoyu, she said, offering a bright, genuine smile. Call me Big Sister. I ignored the last part. I'm Yize. I'm a summoner. She pouted slightly at my refusal to use the nickname. You can solo an elite demon, right? I saw you cleaning up the remains of that Blood Sea demon earlier. I nodded. I can. Good, she said, looking satisfied. That's enough. Now we just need to find one more person who can solo an elite, and we're ready. I looked at her, surprised. She was a level 19 powerhouse with top-tier gear, and she already had me. Why did she think we needed a third? I was puzzled. Even for a level 19 genius, this stronghold seemed to be a serious problem. If she needed a partner who could solo an elite, just how dangerous was this place? I decided to ask. Demon strongholds were standard textbook material. Usually, they formed in contaminated zones when a high-energy source appeared. Monsters would instinctively gather around things like high-quality crystals or rare items. But Zone 19 was brand new. Theoretically, a massive stronghold shouldn't have formed this quickly. Yuan Xiaoyu crossed her arms over her chest, her expression turning serious. The location is a large temple. The demons have completely occupied it, forming layers of defenses. I'm an assassin. I'm great at picking targets off, but I'm not built for fighting crowds. Even if I take out the leaders, there are at least 6 other elite demons guarding the perimeter. She emphasized the word 6. In her mind, someone capable of soloing an elite could probably hold off 3 at once if they pushed themselves. But asking me to face 6 alone? That was a death sentence. So, she said, her eyes teasing me. Unless you're planning on taking all 6 by yourself? She had a point. I was only level 6. Even a level 16 professional would think twice before jumping into a 6-on-1 fight with elites. I went silent for a moment. A famous quote from a master in my previous life flashed through my mind. I looked up and smirked. No, I want to take on 10. Yuan Xiaoyu didn't laugh or mock me. Instead, her beautiful eyes sparkled with amusement. Are you still trying to act tough for your big sister, little brother? Then, she saw the look in my eyes. Her smile faltered. Wait, you're serious? Taking on a group of elites wasn't just 6 times harder than a solo fight. The difficulty scaled exponentially. She remembered being level 6 back in high school. Back then, she struggled to kill a single demon, let alone 6 elites simultaneously. I did the math in my head. After hitting level 6, Panda's strength had climbed to 163. In a one-on-one, he could end an elite with a single palm strike. Using his Tai Chi skills, he could probably take out 2 at once. If he fought 6, my odds of winning were probably around 99%. I'm about 99% sure I can handle it, I told her. Ruan Xiaoyu reached out and pressed her palm against my forehead, checking for a fever. A level 6 kid taking on 6 level 15 elites, and you say 99%? You didn't even say you'd try. Should I praise you for being humble by leaving that 1% out? She looked at me with deep suspicion. She didn't believe a word of it. Little brother, don't push yourself if you can't handle it. It's okay to admit you're not that capable. I chuckled. Whether I'm capable or not, you can see for yourself. She puffed out her chest, her interest piqued. Fine, let's see it then. Before she could finish her sentence, a piercing, wailing cry for help echoed from the distance. Help! Please, someone help me. We both spun around. 2 young women were stumbling toward us, their clothes torn and bloodied. Their faces were deathly pale, and their legs looked so weak they could barely carry them. They looked like they had been through a nightmare. Please save us. They sobbed, collapsing toward us. There are guards behind us, so many demons. Ruan Xiaoyu's face softened with pity. She immediately stepped forward. I'll save them. If you want to prove your strength, you can handle the pursuers. She started to rush past me, but I reached out and gripped her shoulder, stopping her firmly. She turned back, confused and annoyed, but stopped when she saw my face. I was unnervingly calm. My eyes were glowing with a faint, golden light. My eye of insight was active. The disguise was perfect to the naked eye, but the truth was written in gold. Asterisk skin peeler demon. Level 20 elite. Asterisk. These weren't survivors. They were monsters wearing the skins of the girls they had murdered. The skin peeler was one of the most hated monsters in military records. Their combat stats weren't the highest, strength 100, spirit 140, but their intelligence was terrifying. They would kill humans, wear their skin, and mimic their behavior to lure in unsuspecting rescuers. Most rookies died before they even realized they were being attacked. The 2 girls continued their performance, sobbing and reaching out with trembling hands. Help, it hurts so much. Ruan Xiaoyu was smart, and she quickly realized something was off. How could 2 heavily injured girls outrun a pack of elite demons? But before she could say anything, I let go of her shoulder and walked straight toward them, completely unguarded. Hey, what are you doing? She hissed, drawing her blue daggers and tensing up, ready to lunge the moment things went south. I stopped a few feet away from the girls and spoke in a gentle, soothing voice. Don't worry, I'm here to help. Can you show me where you're hurt? The 2 monsters seemed relieved. One of them turned slightly, lifting her tattered shirt to reveal her waist. It hurts so much here. Please look. She was practically begging me to step closer into striking range. I shook my head. No, that's not where the wound is. The 2 demons froze, blinking in confusion. I pointed a finger at the first one's neck. Your wound is right here. The moment I spoke, a shadow detached itself from the demon's own feet. My shadow squirrel erupted from the darkness, the red glow of its blade flashing like a streak of lightning. A thin red line appeared exactly where I had pointed. A split second later, the girl's head slid off her shoulders and hit the ground. Asterisk killed level 20 elite, skin peeler demon. Experience plus 500. Asterisk level 6, 710/1100. It was over in a heartbeat. I had pointed at the target like I was ordering from a menu, and the squirrel had served it up instantly. Ruan Xiaoyu stood frozen, her daggers still raised. She was horrified. I had just decapitated a girl without a second thought. To her, it looked like I had just murdered a survivor in cold blood. I watched the light fade from the demon's eyes. I hadn't hesitated for a single second, and I could feel Ruan Xiaoyu's gaze burning into my back. She looked stunned. She had seen plenty of people capable of killing a skin peeler demon, but she had never seen someone do it with such cold, clinical efficiency. Usually, only veterans from the demon-suppressing army with decades of combat experience showed that kind of resolve. It wasn't just my ruthlessness that shocked her. It was the shadow squirrel. My summon's ability to merge with shadows and strike from the darkness was a masterclass in assassination. She was an assassin herself, so she knew exactly how rare and valuable a skill like that was. It had to be epic tier or higher. I could see the envy flickering in her eyes. She probably thought this was my ultimate trump card. While she was busy processing the first kill, the second skin peeler demon was still frozen in shock. Everything had happened too fast. We were just talking, and then my blade was out. I could almost see the confusion in its eyes, as if it were wondering which one of us was actually the monster. It never got the chance to find an answer. I had already commanded the squirrel to position 2 shadow clones in the second demon shadow. The clones couldn't use the cloning skill itself, but they could use Shadow Strike. Even though they only possessed 80% of the original's attack power, I wasn't taking any chances. As it turned out, I didn't need to worry. With my 2 legendary tier auras active, the clones received a massive attack boost. The skin peeler's 70 points of constitution meant nothing. Its neck snapped like dry, rotting wood under the shadow blades. Asterisk killed level 20 elite, skin peeler demon. Experience plus 500, asterisk. 2 kills, 1,000 experience points. My experience bar jumped by nearly half. This was exactly why I had come to the polluted lands. This was the kind of leveling speed I needed. The 2 headless corpses slumped to the ground. As the illusion faded, their true forms were revealed, rubbery, pale things that looked like twisted mannequins. Yuan Xiaoyu walked over, her eyes wide despite having guessed the outcome. They really were both skin peelers, she muttered. She turned her peach blossom eyes toward me, staring with the sharp, intense curiosity of a hunting cat. But how did you know? How did you spot them so fast? She was right to be suspicious. I had identified them faster than a 10-year veteran. I wasn't about to tell her about my eye of insight, though. We weren't close enough for me to start sharing my deepest secrets. Demons don't know how to run away, I said simply, giving her a partial truth. When they try to act like fleeing humans, they make mistakes. The way their legs move, the way they fake panic, it's all slightly off. It doesn't match a human's natural instincts. I was reciting what Uncle Lu Boyan had taught me in class. In reality, those observations only gave me about a 50% certainty. But when I combined them with the eye of insight, that certainty hit 100%. It was like having the answer key before taking the test. Anyone can look like a genius when they're allowed to cheat. Still, even that basic explanation seemed to fascinate her. I didn't want to linger on the subject. I stood up and looked at the rubbery remains. You got a light? I asked. We need to burn these.